now we're rolling.
Cool. Wow.
Tight. That was a bit from one of the home recordings.
Of Home.
Of Home, yeah. So originally called Home 44, I believe I tracked the first demo April 17th, 2019 is what it's saying, which is now so long ago.
Yeah, the world has changed a lot since then.
The world is changing. But that one kind of came together. I believe I left a job interview and sat at the edge of my bed and recorded just like improv, which I think you and I were talking about.
Right.
Like just
that's kind of part of your process.
Stream of consciousness type deal.
Bad news, not going with Nick. I don't think I'm gonna see.
What's the significance of that 44 there? I was like, oh, is that the 44th take?
So what the voice memos does is it does like location based if you don't give it a title. So because I was at my apartment at the time, it was like home. So there's like a home one, home. There's still homes. Like if I like were to do it, well, I don't know about now because it changed my address with me, but like that was home 44, which I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Just leave it that way.
Basically an unnamed voice memo, but number 44.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
And out of all of them, that's the one that it's stayed like with that title and everything and kind of kept it as is.
There's always one.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think it's cool. I wanted to name the song Home 44, and then I was just kind of like, whatever. But at least I say home in the song, which I know sometimes it's like, unless it's like such a cool title that doesn't like
it's
have
a
anything
fitting
to do
title
with it.
though, I think.
Yeah, it kind of brings it all in, which is why the song is still one of my favorites, and it came together so well, and the music video and everything, super cool. Yeah, and even that live recording we did at Eric sounds better than the recorded version.
The whole session, like that whole live session, just sounds insane.
Thank you, but no, and that was cool too. Was bringing that idea to Eric, and what I was thinking at the time, I was like, he might hate this. Like, this is not something he's always into bands that are really cool and clean and like.
He's got a style.
Yeah, he does have a style. He's into stuff that's like really cool and jarring and like cutting edge. And I'm sending him literally like, what would be like, a Story So Far Seaside or something like that, like one of their acoustic like tracks.
Ends up on like an EP 3 years later.
Oh my god, yeah. And then next thing you know, Eric's like, "This is sick. We should book a date." I'm still trying to figure out that like every producer we know at least has that vision thing.
Of course,
where they could see it.
Yeah, they can see it like so far ahead from where it is. Like, and it's like, oh, here's this demo I did in my bedroom, just me and a guitar, and it's like, I got it. It's
yeah.
Like, what do you get? What do you mean?
It's weird wizard stuff, but yeah, I took it to him, and I was just like, yeah, I feel like it'll just be an acoustic song with things fluttering in and out. Right. And, back at that time, he was doing the Haunt Club stuff with the tape deck.
Wow, that was the same. Was that really the same time?
Might have ended a little bit before then.
But it probably, like, Haunt Club was probably ending as you were going to.
I'm trying to remember. Well, I know Still Hungry came out that summer because during one of our demo session things, we asked him, we were like, oh, so Eric, do you write songs like yourself? Like, do you have like your own kind of like thing? Because you seem to give off like an Elliott Smith vibe in your like voice and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, well, okay. And cracked open like the Still Hungry.
There
like,
we go.
I was like, oh, how many songs? We did a whole album. Like, oh, okay, casual. Yeah, it's already mastered. Like,
keeping it under wraps until it's like ready.
Dude, I can't, like, every time I do something, every time I fart, I like show it to you. It's like, yo, look at this like terrible acoustic demo. I show it to you. It's like,
cool.
I don't get how people like hold on to things.
No, I can't.
Like,
I'm literally the worst with like keeping things a secret. I'll show everyone like, oh, here's the masters I just got back. Like, share it with your friends. Like,
oh my god,
what? Don't do that.
A part of me wants to do that so bad with newer stuff. just go in on it.
Dude, that'd be hilarious. And I feel, did you do that? I don't know how much you showed me of Home when it was happening. You might have showed me this actually. Now that I think about it,
I 1,000,000% sent you this demo.
Yeah.
I won't be a problem. I won't let this go.
I think from definitely at least a year before that, I was sending you stuff.
Oh,
because
yeah.
it was just like I love how honest you are, but also you do see the good in it, which is
Of
like
course.
a lot of music. There's so much music out there that people love that it's like subjective. Is this good or not?
Of course.
And I was just like, oh, maybe if one person kind of likes the song, and you're very honest, and you and I come from a similar musical background too, where it's like,
right.
you hear people screaming it at a show, which is one of the things I think you said about My End. You're like, I
Yeah.
hear this being screamed back at you.
Yeah.
Which is like, all right, that's an idea then. Let's work on it.
Yeah, for me, and I think I kind of apply this to all the demos you send me, or anything anyone sends me. I'm like, what, like, I try to take it like be not objective it as possible, I guess. I'm like, oh, what context can I see this like being like really cool in, or like where can I see like the influences you've pulled from, and that's sort of like is what I base my judgment around. So I'm like, oh, like, hey, like I can see My End being like a a crowd banger, and I think this is like one of those songs where I remember like just really seeing this like win a crowd over.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. When I first started playing acoustic, like around, it just fit so well. No matter what I did, no matter what show it was, it really worked, and it kind of like, especially when I got to play it in Toronto, and the Young Culture guys were all singing along. It was so funny because they were with me when I came out and everything, and like it was just funny. Like we were playing, like I opened the Toronto show right before COVID, and like they were singing it, and people in the crowd were like, is this like a big song or something? Like, why do you guys all know it? Like,
that's I forgot, like, so they had heard this song, like they've heard your songs like while you were on tour with them.
yeah.
That's so wild.
Especially it was really crazy to think how little of everything I had at different times. Home I had for a while. Like we wrapped this like a long before like anything else happened. We almost played it at House of Independence. And when we played with the Punches, I was just like, this would be so off from everything. I was like, no, we got to do like a full on.
Right.
Yeah, but looking back, it's like, we probably should have played it.
Yeah, I mean, at the show you're playing like all like rock tunes, and
it was a fun set, but still, like, it was like, cool. Would be cool to have like a break like this in certain things. And then it does build at the end. And we actually, I think it was me, Joe, Artie, and Matt debuted this opening for Late Waves at the brewery.
That's cool.
Like that.
What a lineup too.
Yeah, who else? That was a show. Anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone, anywhere.
Anyone, anyway.
Anyone, anywhere.
Yeah.
Anyway,
or
anyone, anyway.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan
they
played in
played
that
too.
band.
Yeah. They were amazing, but that was a great show.
I actually there's like Polaroids of us from that. Was that show?
You're thinking of the release show.
I'm thinking of the release show.
Yeah. But those Polaroids are still like so wholesome.
Yeah.
I have them in
Great
like the
shows at the
acoustic
brewery.
guitar case. Like I keep
that's
them
sweet.
just on me all the time. It's nice. And then they're all backed up and everything
Of
too,
course,
because
yeah.
they gave you like the CDs. It really is worth it. Sometimes it's like $60 to get a roll developed.
Oh yeah.
But it's worth it. And I don't know. I still feel like that whole like the imperfections of it like make it even cooler with the Polaroids.
Most definitely. I mean, that's really literally where I pull like all of my art from. Like, oh hey,
Yeah.
like let me go get this film roll developed. And
When are you releasing that? You should totally release that. Like the stuff you sent me to pick like artwork
oh
from.
yeah, oh it'll definitely like make its way into their promotional material.
Yeah,
or,
it's
like,
like found footage.
I
It's
know.
really, really good.
I like yeah. I am sitting on so much of it too now at this point, like 2 years of shooting film. Like, I mean, like the Day of the Dead was like, oh, I was just like at a park in Cape May. I'm like, oh, this is some cool footage. And then I was like, something about the juxtaposition of life and death, like,
Dude,
which we'll get to more of that.
we were-
but like
we were going through the artwork ideas, talking about like new stuff, and Sarah's like, "Where's Nameling get his stuff, by the way? Like all the artwork." I'm like, "He sent me a file of all these crazy photos to choose from." She's like, "Yeah, the split artwork's one of our best, like on our things," and that was tough to choose between all those, but no, they all worked out super well. I'm still very proud of my first ever canvas that I made for Angels, and it's just like, dude, the picture was so cool. It was so perfect.
That's
for
like
it.
an old photo, and that had to be 2014. I took that one, and
Old photo.
yeah, it's definitely an
I
old.
thought you were gonna say 24 years old.
No, oh my god, it's like I was a wee lad. I was 3 years old handling
With
a
it.
film.
Well, that was appropriate.
It would have been appropriate
back
back then. But then I entered my like hip phase. I'm like, yo, I want to shoot film now out of nowhere because everyone's doing it. But I love that.
You know, it's interesting. I just watched Rain Man for the first time the other night.
For
Have
the
you ever
first
seen
time?
that?
Yeah, with Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
And
Unbelievable.
it's
But
incredible
and
movie.
Tom Cruise.
And Tom Cruise, yeah.
But he goes around like with a camera taking pictures of things.
Yeah, of
and then
course.
the end of the movie they show all the pictures he took
It's
and everything.
beautiful.
And the creepiest Hans Zimmer soundtrack
Yeah.
ever for just about a guy, you know? It's just
It's like this movie about this dude who's like awesome.
But all the
I love that movie.
But all the in-betweens of the score and everything are so crazy and out there, and fluttery flutes and stuff,
Yeah.
and like dissonant chords. And I was like, what is going on? But
that's the beauty of it.
no, but walking around with like a Polaroid, because that movie's from like '88
Yeah.
or something, and now it's just like people are taking pictures all the time, anytime, of everything, and it's kind of like, you know, placing their own thumbprints of making their own like short stories.
Oh, of course. That's kind of the thing. I feel like cultural is like a cyclical in that way, where it's like the way you sort of chronicle your life like kind of comes back around, whether it's like vinyl, whether it's photography. It's like, oh, how can I like make my mark? How can I remember this? It's like, let's bring taking film photos back.
Honestly, when you do a vinyl, you have the easiest liner art ever. It's just you make a collage of all those
Exactly.
pictures, the
It's
Polaroids.
perfect.
That's kind of what I want to do at some point, is do for a bunch of singles, have them all be Polaroids, and then have them all like a collage. It's an idea that I'm keep pushing up, and we're all just like, that's gonna be really hard, but I do want to eventually do it.
It's definitely doable. So what part of the process in this did you want to focus on? Was it like the writing? Was it the production, the recording? Like,
I think the production wins it for this one on me. Like I said before, we had the tape deck that we were pitching and like playing with.
right.
And then
Get all those weird sounds.
yeah, and then it was my first time. Like I told Eric I'd been moving in a direction of where I wanted to use less kind of work on my voice, like less auto tune and less melodyne, and kind of like a really raw sounding voice recording, which he absolutely killed.
That's definitely his like wheelhouse, considering like, oh, this Still Hungry stuff's like folky as can be, and it's like,
yeah. No, he wants the like most raw vocal possible, which I'm also super into. And then that hybrid acoustic guitar and electric, the very reverby guitar, that kind of unison, like super unison, sounds as one, and it's such an interesting tone with everything else going on. It was definitely one of the most interesting songs I've heard sonically,
right,
especially
like, as
that
it's coming
I've
together.
done.
Yeah.
Like just coming from like, all right, we're recording pop punk in a closet, we're recording pop punk in the studio now. We're doing this really weird thing where I wanted it to be very Neutral Milk Hotel from the start, but also, you know, achievable and like what we could do.
Right, yeah, with what we had, you know. It's like, oh, do you have a singing saw in your closet, Eric, by chance? I mean, he
Eric's
probably
like,
does, to be honest.
honestly, not for this one, but for another, yeah.
He's like reeling you back in. It's like, yeah, we don't need this weird. We don't need your guitar to sound blown out
Oh
and
my
like
God.
louder than everything else for this one.
Well, did we do the bass wasn't blown out, but we did have the feedback loops.
Oh yeah,
come
that's
in.
sick.
There was bass guitar, and then the synth bass too, which I didn't even like. It was like brrr, like the like low. I'll pitch that in post, but I don't know if that was
Yeah,
an E
get,
flat.
get
but,
that right note in there.
but no, it worked out pretty cool. And then I started playing drums, and then Eric was like, "Oh, I have an idea of like something simpler."
Of course.
We didn't even have a full kit set up. We
You
had
don't
like
need
kick
it.
snare floor tom
Yeah.
with towels on them, the signature move, and then we started playing on it, and then I was like, oh, we should have something build. So we set up a ride cymbal, and I was just hitting like quarter notes on the ride, and he's like, yeah, like really wash it out by the end. It was so weird, but like doing it like
It's
that.
like deconstructed, where it's like, oh, I'm not playing around the kit. This
I
whole
love
work-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, this whole song is kind of like that, and it factors into what I'm talking about too, inadvertently, with the, you know, kind of deconstructing a house of people coming through it, and like all the memories of like certain people coming in and like things we've done, and like it kind of just came from that.
It's almost like the inspiration for the song was serving the recording in a
Yeah.
weird way, where it's like,
Which I don't think of things like that
No,
at all.
yeah.
Like I'm not Brian Wilson, where he's like, oh, and then when I say sad, I'm gonna hit a minor chord,
Yeah,
or
it's
like
like
the note's gonna flatten out, and it's like, no, I just I thought this would be cool, and then like months later, it's like, oh, that's what that means. Or even like now, I'm like, oh, I guess that's kind of, I never thought of it that way, but that's why it's cool. And I think deep down, a part of me knew that and like understood it, and that's why it fit so well like a puzzle piece.
Right, like on a subconscious level, you understood that, but like then you're listening back, like, did I mean to do that?
Yeah.
It's like that's why it's beautiful.
I won't be the problem. I won't let you down tonight. I wanna read more. I want to fill the fridge on my own. I wanna beat this game before you get home.
You spent $25 on a magic 8-ball. Asked about the girls you want to kiss in the fall. Please concentrate and ask again.
So this is it. This is sort of the one that started it all for me. I mean, February 2019. Not the oldest song I have, because of course New Year's Eve and Day of the Dead are sort of testament to that. But this one kind of, and this actually technically isn't the oldest demo, February, but it's when I paired together old lyrics that I had and an old riff that I had into a song. And the reason it's the like sort of what started it all is because Connor Hansen, as he was putting together his studio, was still in like a side room of that studio trying to test out the space, and it's like giving away a free session to like the first person that DMs me. Happened to be me. And that's what started the Nameling journey. It was me going, like, meeting up with Connor, only knowing him really in passing, and then like us like becoming homies, recording this track, and making it to the song. Seemingly all my friends know and love now at this point. It's my most streamed song.
Nice. Dead's in the side room.
What was that? Oh yeah,
Dead's in the side
yeah,
room.
yeah. She.
That's where we throw our deads. And
Yeah,
that's your boneyard where
That was my boneyard right there.
Dead's in the ocean.
It's like, it's so weird to think. Tiny little room, and now he has like this whole big space. It's like,
Unbelievable. One of the best mixes too.
I love it. I think it came together so nicely.
Remember that whole review I wrote of this song? I was like, hey guys, let's all do reviews together.
That's right.
And we'll all put them out. I'm the only one.
You're the only one that wrote anything.
Did I even release it? I don't even know.
I don't think you did. Yeah.
I'll attach it as like the lyrics. To
That would
this
be
or
actually
something
pretty
like
cool.
that. Yeah.
And I remember you saying a lot of really cool, nice things about it. And then John and I never wrote anything else about the other two, your song or his. I forget the sort of triangle that we agreed upon. I guess mine, his, and his, yours. Yeah, this one is interesting though, because the ideas started separate and very different. The lyrics to this song kind of popped in my head and started in like 3/4, and actually somewhere not on my phone, so I'll have to get it later. Maybe you'll add it later. With me singing to just a a doctor rhythm metronome by Boss playing in 3/4 in a lake house rehearsal room.
Oh my God.
That's like, oh, I feel this. And I remember reviewing it, I'm like, wow, this sucks. But when I revived the riff, I was like, this would fit, and I just like made it work. And it's still like one of those things I kept like rolling with. I'm like, I love how this is going.
Spent $25 on a magic 8-ball and asked about the girls you hope to kiss in the fall. And after each question, the ball changed its answer. Why'd you put your faith in something that left
I never knew
you
about that. That's why I think this
unsure?
is so healthy.
Yeah.
For us, like, I don't even know this about.
It's all a part of the process.
If I don't know, who else knows?
No one
Come
knows.
on.
Yeah, this is like, that's like a kept secret. I don't think the closest people to me knew that. It was just something I kept in the vault, if you will.
So speaking of the vault, I just pulled up my Magic 8 Ball review, which is funny because I've been doing this ever since college in terms of how I write things that are this formal. I have notes at the top of things I want to talk about, like topics. So I'm seeing these topics right now. It says Death Cab drum vibe, Modest Mouse guitar hook, Magic 8 Ball, $25, Deck of Tarot cards, $45, Fortune Teller, $3.50 per minute on the phone.
I think you were. I remember us talking about that part, and I was like, "Oh, you were doing like the calculations or something."
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's funny about the record itself because I remember, and I was thinking about making like either a silly merch design or making like a graphic for me as Nameling, where Nameling as an artist is like a 3 like Venn diagram, and it's songs about money or lack thereof, songs about love or lack thereof, and songs about magic or lack thereof. And this song specifically is the one that's in the middle of all 3 of those. No love, no magic, no money.
Why isn't this a thing?
Yeah, and I need to make it a thing. It was something that I've been like mulling over in my head.
You totally should.
And because like if you go back and like into all the songs, like what's best for you? No love, no money. This of course is all 3. No magic, no love, no money. Boardwalking is no money, no love. Also, like there's so many like
oh my
they
God.
all fit into this frame, and like those are just my
You're
songs.
a psychopath.
Yeah, I'm a psychopath, but also that's natural to me. Like they all fit in that Venn diagram.
You guys do t-shirts.
Yeah, I think
You have to do t-shirts immediately because this would work perfectly on like a navy blue with white.
It'd be easy.
It would
look so much like your light bulb T-shirt, except just my Venn diagram. Yeah,
you should have Mike Burke make that as
I
well.
might.
He'd be happy. Or Nick, he'd make it. Another Nick for the pile. But
so many Nicks.
no, but you and I back in college, I think one thing we always connected over when we started hanging out and listening to music, we were listening to such heavy hitters lyrically.
Oh yeah,
Like everything, it was like we wouldn't even touch a band if they were like couldn't write
It was
something
all
that
about the
really
lyric for
like
us.
impressed us. So in this review, I have like your lyrics isolated, which I feel when you're reviewing music, it's such a big part of it. Like it might as well, unless the lyrics aren't big, unless it's like a Sugar Rose song, whereas like you're not going to really talk about that. But
it's about the
when
ambience,
probably
the
they
textures.
are amazing lyrics, and I'm just ignorant to that. But for for this kind of music, this style and genre, kind of giving a spotlight to that because you only have 3 minutes, you only have like however you could say, and a lot of things are repetitive and flowing in the background, like the riff and the drums and everything, to give a platform to what you want to say.
Right. And I think that's sort of my like MO as an artist. So it's like, and you can notice it again, another thing, like a sort of thread of continuity for my Nameling song. Essentially the guitar riff from most of them, save a few songs, are like guitar loops, just because like I feel like that's the best way to serve the lyrics that I'm writing, the message I'm trying to convey. This one specifically, this was like the first time I looped a riff repeatedly throughout an entire song just so I could say what I wanted to say on it.
The whole song.
The whole song.
It goes through the whole song.
I mean, there are
Amazing.
obviously parts that come and go over that, but other than that, like it's the loop and it's the lyrics, and that's like the idea.
You spend $25 on a Magic 8 Ball and ask about the girl.
So you made a music video without Chris Kunachuk on this one.
I
How
did.
did you? How? How do you do that?
You know what? It's things fall into my lap. I love Chris dearly. I love his work and would love to work with him. This one, I wasn't even planning on doing a video. It kind of just happened. Nick Librero, who's Snaggletooth, he I actually used to be in a band with him in high school, like some metalcore band, and great person, and really started taking his videography seriously. And he hit me up. He was like, "Listen to Magic 8 Ball. We need to do a video. Like, I don't care what your budget is. I don't care how much money you have. Like, I'll consider it like a like an art piece. Like, whatever you can pay me, we'll go with." I mean, I feel like I ripped him off, honestly. Like he really like it should have been way
eerie. I love it.
The like, even though it wasn't like there wasn't much in terms of materials required. Like, I feel like I should have paid him so much more because I'm so happy with that video.
But I mean, that's another thing too. We were talking about how you're so bubbly and like optimistic and everything in person, and your music's really dark, but also on camera for the video, you're so like, oh, what's up with it? Like, if I didn't know, you'd be like, this guy's weird, man. He's like the Modest Mouse guy. Like, I don't know.
Yo, me and Isaac Brock are
Isaac
like
Brock,
buddies.
yeah. You're my names guy because I just forget all the
I
names.
mean, Modest Mouse is one of my faves.
What was your band called with him?
Oh, While the City Sleeps.
That's what I thought. I was thinking of this the other night because I remember we were in Woods Theaters, me, you, and Kevin Houston, and this is like maybe one of our first interactions, and you were like, oh yeah, I was in a band while the city sleeps, and you growled for us or something like that. And Kevin was like, nice growls. And I'm just looking back and like we're all nerds. Like that's oh god.
I also vividly remember that moment. I couldn't because they weren't on my phone, and we at that point had no songs on streaming because I think MySpace was dead. So Nick and Joe, my two former bandmates, had just formed another band called Birth of a Hero, and I did a guest vocal spot on that, and that's what I showed you guys on my phone. In that moment, I remember that. Yeah, that band seems to follow me everywhere. It's kind of funny where it's like where it pops back up because like obviously the connection for this video. I went on a date just before I was going out with my previous girlfriend. I'd gone on a date, and like the person I was in the car with was like, "Do you remember like when we went to?" Because it was someone I went to high school with, and they're like, "Do you remember like that band While the City Sleeps?" I'm like, "That was my band. Why would you like? How did you? What made you think to bring that up?" And then like it's like all these weird connections, but it's great.
That's especially in this area. That stuff like haunts everybody. I'm good. Like no, I don't have anybody coming up to me about 99 except Samir. It's really annoying. It's really annoying.
He loves
I'd like it
bringing
to
it
end. Like I would very
Those
much
songs are good though. I still have that. Like,
no, I would bury that.
Come on.
I'd bury that in the backyard with the dog.
It's our old projects though always lead us to new opportunities, as I like to think.
Never forget where you came from.
Exactly.
Unless you're me, please forget.
No, never forget. 99 Grets brought you where you are now. Brought Samir to your future projects and to where he is now. And While the City Sleeps brought me to the Magic 8 Ball video.
It's very true. To the Magic 8 Ball.
To the Magic 8 Ball.
I've been underwater a long way down, a long way down. I've said things I shouldn't. I would have learned by now. Should have learned by now.
What is burned out?
What is burnt? That's a great question. It's .mov, right?
Yeah.
I had to ask you that because I didn't know that was. I forgot. I guess because you definitely sent me the demo, but I forgot that was the demo for that song.
Wow. Again, like it seems like so long ago, and Nick, that was 3 months ago.
Well, that's when we put it out.
Yeah, that was 3 months ago. We put it out.
Yeah, which I mean, it's been
That's nothing.
awesome. It is nothing.
That's nothing.
You and I drinking champagne on the beach, celebrating the
That was
release
so
of-
great.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about that in the Angels episode. Like that was like, what a way to do it. Next split we do, we'll go hard.
We'll go.
We'll do something really fun.
Night
for
on
it.
the town.
Oh my god. But yeah, this came together really nicely. So I don't know what did it. I have to like dig back, but I just realized you could make songs on your phone. You can make songs on GarageBand on your phone. Like
It's really that easy.
all you need is an acoustic guitar and headphones. And I was just like, oh, okay. I could make a song because this was, again, another demo idea I sent to you. Yep. And you're like, I hear something in this. I was just like, all right, I was just improvising something, playing something like drop C sharp on an acoustic, but it's like really warm. I love where my voice sits with it. It's like very warm tone. And then you were like, yeah, it sounds cool. So I just played with like picking a riff out and, kind of doing the Nameling style of picking a riff that goes on the whole time during the song and then having a drum beat go on behind it. But I think it was like programmed drum kit. I think it wasn't a drum machine as much. It was somebody that tries to sound like a drummer.
Things I couldn't even recognize.
Layered a bunch of things. I think I did bass on the app, like holding the phone and hitting because it's just two notes. So hitting the like bass notes and like sliding it.
Back and forth.
No, this one there's one bass note. That's what it was. You're just hitting the root.
You're hitting the root the whole time.
Yeah.
So basically, it's the song's one chord essentially.
It's just one chord, even though you're moving like the 1 to the 4 chord throughout everything else. And then I made the little like glockenspiel part and like another counter melody. And then I showed this to Connor as a like, hey, look what I made, like joking around. He's like, we gotta track it. It's a great song. I'm like, come on. I was like, no. And him and Victoria were like, no, you have to track it. It's amazing. I was just like, really? And we did it again. Like I knew you were gonna be in that Monday,
week, yeah.
and I was going in Thursday, and I was just like, I think he might have spilled to me the rough of what you guys did.
He probably
like,
did,
whoa.
which sounds fine. Yeah, like
even during like what we were making, and it was going a completely different like deal, but it was so cool how it came together. And like just I always like voice demo something, and then I'll bring it to the studio. But this time it was like I had a really good idea of what I wanted to do, still open to some things. But yeah, Connor just knocked it out of the park. He's like, yeah, let's make this like a real song, like really like tighten up a bunch of things and make it sound huge.
And I think you guys did a really great job at that. This one was a case of like, even though you had already like a pretty solid idea of what you wanted it to sound like, this is like one of those things where I remember like the difference between the demo and like what that song actually turned out to be, which is like, wow, like stylistically, sure, but like, oh, that one big vocal chord that like you just like hit where everything else cuts out. It's like, where did that come from?
It's like, what's going on? That was me in my room trying to make like, all right, what's going to make the song interesting? But I'm talking like a quick decision. This wasn't like, I was like, the drums have to stop at some point and something else has to be introduced or something. And I was just like, all right, I'll just do like a kind of barbershop quartet thing.
And it's like, wow, that's insane.
Out of nothing. It was like the simple less is more approach in a song where, you and I for years, we talk about this all the time, like very obsessed with lyrics. And this one is all just kind of like the lyrics are very free form. They're kind of just painting images and ideas, and that moves on to something else. It's not really, I'm not like going in on an issue, or I'm not really kind of psychoanalyzing something. It's just, here's an idea, here's an image, here's another one.
And it's really funny that I think you've told me that before, and I just think it's like so funny because as a listener, like from like someone who like hadn't known that prior, like it feels like it strings together like this narrative like of a certain kind of relationship that like you paint that picture, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I've been in that relationship. So it's funny that that's not like that wasn't the focus for you. That's like you were trying to make it very free form, but it still paints that perfect picture of what you're trying to convey.
Yeah, of like looking back on it, kind of like reminiscent of things or memories you shared with somebody. And I'm always kind of cracking at this whole, is it the place, is it the person you're with type deal? Like you're always present in that moment, but what are the other things that are present? And this song certainly was inspired by going on a lot of walks, like walking more than normally. Ever since home, I was doing a lot of like walking. I lived in the same place for 5 years, but it wasn't until 3.5 years in that I was like, I should start walking all over the place. Just like go for long walks and put headphones in and kind of do my deal and, safely. I would walk the boardwalk like constantly. And the song was all derivative of walking the boardwalk. And I remember getting the roughs back or doing my own thing and listening back to it, or the master. And I listened to it walking the boardwalk, and I was just like, wow. By the final product, it was like, I can't believe I made this. Yeah. I cannot believe that this is me singing, and this is like a kind of composition by me and everything. And that's one of the coolest feelings.
Yeah, it really is something special, I think. And that's why I was so like honored that you decided to like pitch us doing a split together, like, and that being the song. I don't know. There's something very much about it, even though it's very different than Angels, which is like, I don't know. It's something about them I think fit together in a way that I can't really explain.
I think Angels is a burning sun, and my song is the ocean. It is just like you're wading in the water or swimming type deal. Yeah. And any of those kind of juxtapositions of like, or my song's the early morning as the sun's rising and yours is the sun going down. And I think that's what worked because they're not the same vibe at all.
No, they're not.
Interestingly enough, but it's like a red version, blue version thing.
It is a red version, blue version. That is a really good. Love
And
the
then
Pokemon
instead of
reference.
doing that for the single art or the split art, we got this gloriously haunting image that you just had.
Yeah, that one I took in Montreal, and that is hilarious that you bring up the Pokemon red version, blue version. The whole reason I was in Montreal is because my friends were super into Pokemon Go at the time, and that's where Go Fest was that year
Go Fest. I was going to say,
in Montreal.
did y'all just go up to Montreal to play Pokemon Go?
Yeah, basically. I mean, we obviously that was only one afternoon of the trip out of like 3, but like that was still like the purpose. Like, hey, we should go and then actually experience Montreal. So that's where I took the photo.
Incongruent to us finishing school the summer of 2016. Yeah. I think summer 2016 was the last summer, like the last like peaceful, because we saw Peace on Earth that summer.
I get
with Pokemon Go.
We did see everyone. Yeah, everyone. That's a good point, actually.
That was the last time, and then COVID happened a couple years later, and it's like the exact opposite. It was like, okay, we saw peace, and now we see like destruction in the end.
Yeah, it's like everyone's back inside. Everyone was walking everywhere. Like,
Maybe COVID was to counteract Pokemon Go, and it's
too many people are making friends outside. We got to put a stop to this.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but everybody I know that still plays Pokemon Go, the correlation is they're happier than people that don't still. For me, my phone battery gets drained entirely from doing anything.
Right.
Texting.
Like I can't do this.
Opening a picture. Drafting a note. So I think Pokemon Go would just, shock my phone
would
into
turn it
permanent
off
sleep.
immediately.
Yeah. So Angels.
Yes.
What made you finally want to record that?
That's a great question, actually. You. I was sitting on that one for a while. I mean, the demo that just played now, I had recorded that in 2018. No vocals. I was just messing around in my apartment, playing guitar. And I was like, oh, that sounds darker than I usually write, but I think that's cool. And then, the writing process kind of just started over time, pulled different lyrics and wrote over it. But I had sat like with a sort of idea of what I wanted to sound like for a while, and then you're like, hey, actually, was it you? I'm sorry, other way around. It was Connor who was like, hey, do you like have any tunes like that you like want to record? I was like, you know what, I've been sitting on this one, let's get it done. And it turned into something else like entirely.
Because you did that, I remember you did it like a Monday in was it April?
It was
like
a
right
Monday in
after
April.
Easter?
Yeah. The rest of the story was the fact that you recorded around that same time and was like, hey, do you want to like put a split out with the song you just did? And I was like, let's do that.
It literally went in like that Thursday.
Yeah. It was like the timing was so perfect with that. But yeah, it was kind of just like, and actually with the as it is with the entire Nameling project, everything kind of just starts with a push. It's like, oh, I've been sitting on these songs for a while, which is why it's funny to me, like, with your process, I'll, like, you'll write a song and, like, record it that same year, put it out the next year. I'm like, I've been sitting on so many of these songs for years, like, ideas for these songs for years. This one is no exception to that. And it all just starts with a push. Hey, do you have a song you want to record? And it's usually, yeah, let's do this. And this one was meant to be just, like, mostly me and an acoustic guitar, and I don't know what else. I really didn't have much else of a vision than that. And then it became something very, very different.
One of the craziest instrumentals.
It just went insane.
You have that whole like St. Vincent part at the end.
Did you see the angels? Did you see the angels? Were you one all along?
A lot of people I show it to gives them like a Gorillaz vibe too.
I can also see that.
But also your voice, I'm telling you, your voice gives me a lot of Brendan Urie vibes.
Stop saying farewell whenever you leave a room.
You are maybe the third person to tell me that.
Isn't that insane though?
Yeah.
Like one of the greatest vocalists ever.
I'm like, are you sure about that?
Your
Like,
range sits perfectly with what he does in a lot of his things.
right. I feel like especially early on where I'm like, oh, like I'm listening to like a Fever You Can't Sweat Out and like some of the more like where he's like sitting at the low bottom of his range. I'm like, I could see it, but I'm like, that's such a weird comparison to
That's
me.
amazing though.
Oh, it's an honor.
No, it's insane. But yeah, that song kind of, I remember you and Connor just did it together, and a lot of that was done in studio too, which always, I feel like a lot of the pressured stuff or kind of coming up with an idea on the fly is some of how the best stuff's made.
Yeah. And that one I was actually kind of sweating a lot because lyrically I only had the first verse and like I guess what you would call a hook, even though it isn't even really a hook. It doesn't. It repeats, but it doesn't. It barely rhymes.
The riff or the Angels thing?
The lyric, like the every happy moment you've had in your life can be strung together by Rosary. That was like the like chorus, I guess, because it's the only part that repeats, but other than the Angels thing, and that's all I had, other than the first verse. And we just said like, "What else do you have?" I'm like, I don't know. And so I like I was fishing through my notes and found like remnants of it. Like we really strung it together, like almost a full verse, on the fly. And then the Angels thing, that just came out of a conversation about like the concept, and I was like, let's run with that.
That's so cool. It's also a very interesting song on its own with just guitar and vocals.
Oh yeah,
like if you ever did, I could totally see, because you have all these like bigger production stuff now, I could totally see you doing an EP of like everything stripped back, like new recordings, but of like just acoustic guitar and vocals.
That's what's interesting about my process, is that like all these songs are like start that way, where it's like I could, the intention was them to be that way, and then it just changes because of the nature of either who I'm working with or like my vision changing. So it's always fun to see where we started and where we finished, but then like taking that finished product and going, let's double back and maybe like play it acoustically as I had written it in the first place.
Yeah, because you finished the song,
right?
And stripping back and working backwards, once people have heard where your imagination is, and then kind of say, I don't know, I love that, because you and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago, the Strawberry Fields, the John Lennon, just rough.
Yeah, it's,
where
like, so weird.
It's not like the song, and it's very weird. It's like, this is a crazy idea. And it's, one of their top-ranked songs like of all time by music critics and fans and non-fans and all this. It's just like how that came out of the madness of that little minute or minute and a half of him with an acoustic guitar, which, again, like your stuff gives me that kind of like wants to break out of that. I feel like our music is very anti like adult alternative and anti like that kind of pop, where it's like the like Maroon 5-y, like very settled, like everything like leads to a like major chord or whatever. And we want to really, like, you and I both love bands that have all this chromaticism in between like power poppiness, and we thrive on it.
Yeah, I think like trying to write yourself out of a box is like can be a difficult thing. And it's funny that you say that, because in an earlier, we're actually almost at the mixing phase of this for Angels, and that the end part, like the Did You See the Angels, went on for a long time, and I was worried. I'm like, is this gonna feel like an adult alternative song if we like run it too long? And I sent Connor like that concern, and he's like, I know exactly what to do. And that's like that total, like he truncated it, and it just totally changed like the vibe of the song, where I'm like, oh, it doesn't feel like some song you hear on like high octane radio on Sirius XM, So that was the worry. I'm like, I need to write myself out of this.
I freaked out the first time I heard that song. I really do. You could ask I was with Drew. We hung out one day when you got the master, because I think we got our masters back at the same time, and I didn't have your mix. You showed it to me.
I showed it to you, yeah.
And so I didn't have it to like listen to on my own, and Drew was with me. We got the masters. I played Angels like twice back to back. I was like, wait, I gotta hear this again. Like, this is amazing. And then I was trying to do, which I still think we should do, the Eminem rap over the
It'd
like.
Still be hilarious.
Connor still won't send me the instrumental, but you and I are gonna have to recreate. Oh, you do?
I mean, like, because that's how I play the song.
Oh my god, that's right, dude. We need to do like just hip hop over
he
it.
Would
like
hate
just
it,
freestyle.
and I would love that
it's
so much.
So good. It's such a like Eminem show,
right,
like vibe at the beginning.
There's like a bounciness to it. I think mostly because of the way the percussion came out. So like there's like you could definitely bounce over it, which is great.
If you have the instrumental now, we gotta send it to Box. We have to send it to him like immediately.
Oh yeah,
but he loves the song too,
which is awesome.
He like really, dude, especially like I think like when we all went to school together, he knew you were in like heavier bands and stuff. But when I was kind of filling him in on what we were all working on, he was like, "Is that Nick?" He's like, "Oh my god,
That's sick." That's it. I've gotten that reaction quite a bit. Well, actually, I guess for every project I've done, I've get that reaction, whether I'm yelling my head off or like
because you're very. It's very like a switch.
Right.
Like you're so different.
Yeah, it's like I can just turn it on and off. But like for anything, like I'm like, "Oh, is that you singing?" I'm like, "Yeah." And it's like,
no, I actually hired a singer.
yeah, someone else is singing my songs. I remember someone commenting on one of my Oh, it was you playing guitar on like one of the other tracks, and someone's like, "Is that you singing in the background?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's my song." And I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." But it's just like it's interesting to see that sort of progression into a different type of musician, I guess.
Also, a perfect single.
Yeah,
Which,
thank you.
When I'm writing or even listening to things, a band we love put something out recently, not going to use any names, and I was just like, I enjoy their albums more. Because I feel like when they're writing an album, they put every song's like a piece of that work. And they did like 2 songs or whatever, or a single. And it's just like,
right, it doesn't
it's cool, and I'm sure I'd love to see it live, but it's for me like that's an album band, which there's a lot of those.
There's definitely a lot of those. And I think, yeah, context, like for certain songwriters, context is important. And like when you take a single, it's like sitting out of that context and you're like, I don't know if I get it yet. And then you listen to the album, you're like, oh, now I get it.
Which I'm speaking way ahead of myself because I think these are going to be part of an album.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to give it its full shot with that. At least from you and I know like writing like EPs and kind of because we crafted your EP and like that had to be strung along. New Year's Eve and 8 Ball are so different from the other tracks, but they still work so well on that. Like it's a perfect like open and closing of that whole thing, especially the reprise. I forget about.
I always forget about it too. Yeah,
it just hit me the other day. I was like, oh my god, this is awesome.
Yeah, I think it definitely gets the least attention because like it's a one mic like acoustic version of the song, which is again how I wrote it. And I think that was almost an homage to like friends who like had heard it that way back in the day, like you included. I was like, oh, let's like just throw it back.
No, you have to. I mean, what like smoke them if you got them. Like you gotta put it out.
Exactly. But I think the way the other 2 songs were different, Magic 8 Ball and New Year's Eve in full production, was what led me to this, or like to like the sound. I was like, that was the crossroads. I'm like 2 rock songs and 2, I don't even know what to call them, emo, indie, pop, whatever. And I was like, I like that synth. I want to go with that. And then we started running with it.
Yeah, we're making 2 similar genre of music too, where I was like, these can't come out separate without it being known that we hang and we put these things together. We send each other ideas back and forth. I'm like, please say yes to the split. Like, as if you were going to say no.
I mean, we've been talking about that for like now almost a decade.
Yeah,
like,
who would have thought these would be the songs to it too, like to the initial and yeah. Oh my God, Angel's one of my favorite songs this year.
It really is one of mine too. Like, well, it's one of my favorite songs I've ever written, and like just listening back, it doesn't feel like it was something I could have created, but
like it feels bigger than you.
It feels bigger than
Insane.
me, and I love that.
Insane, yeah. No, it's so cool. I feel like that's how like, the Fall Out Boy guys must have felt with like Sugar We're Going Down. Like they put a bunch of really great songs together, but like this one, it's like whoa. Like it's 4 chords. It's like wow, this was like the easiest idea, and
it's like such a simple song, and like it blew. I probably feel that way even going further back to like Grand Theft Autumn, where I'm like, how did we make that song that like did this? Like, we're some kids from Chicago. Like,
no, it happens with people. Like they're like, this is our hit, I guess. Yeah. Especially Radiohead. They're like, oh God. Yeah. They're like, this one?
God, no.
Like, please. It's our simplest music, and I still love that song.
It's a great song.
You guys can have your own opinion on it, people who wrote it, but I think it's a great song.
I think it's a great song.
So what are you talking about in this song?
See, that this one's a funny one for me because most of my songs that I've written like are pulled from like personal experience, how I like, and in a way this one ends up that way, but for the most part, like, oh, here's something that happened in my life that inspired me to write either a sad song, is it a love song, but like not necessarily maybe about someone I know, but not about me. This one literally started because I was watching like an anime, and I'm like, oh, like for those of you who may know, it's Evangelion, and it touches upon a lot of like religious, like, not messaging, but like symbolism. And there's a lot of like really profound lines in there. I'm like, wow, that's. And actually, the first line of the song is literally like pulled from that. Like, stop saying, like, there's a character that just like always makes it seem like they're going to die. And I'm like, wow, that's like. So there was something profound about that to me. And it really, at the end of the day, like, yeah, I pulled some ideas from it, just like watching it over again. And I took a step back, like after it was written, and it felt like a message about like devotion. I was like really commit, like if you're committing yourself like to a like past a certain threshold to something, it feels like it like overtakes you and like you're not who you are anymore. If you know what I'm saying.
I feel like what's most impressive about that, as someone that doesn't watch too much anime, but I've like dabbled, the acting, how people could do such serious acting through like cartoons, which is what it is, plain and simple. Whereas when you have real motion shot things of actors, like there's so much just raw emotion and things being pulled from like facial expressions,
right?
or
Gestures,
kind of,
yeah.
It's there's a whole art to it, and there's even a bigger art of drawing something that could do that. In addition, with having a voice that's, it's not this. It's somebody's drawing it and somebody's voice acting it, and also somebody's writing it. It's this this triple threat, like happening in that order.
It really is, and really affected me about this one specifically is that like a lot of the times, and especially in like I don't mean to sound like a purist in this way, a lot of the English like voice acting dubs, like I'm usually not sold on like the performance. Like I don't believe that they feel the things that they're trying to convey. And like in these moments, I really felt that. I'm like, wow, this person's like in anguish, or this person, is really feeling something right now. And that's really what affects me. I'm like, wow, like I believe this. Yeah. And that's where it's like the most talented thing. And I think in a way came across not only in the writing, but I think actually like my vocal performance for this song, where I was like, how do I sell this thing I'm trying to sell, this song? And we kind of took an opposite approach with that, where it's like I try to like reel it back, almost sing like lazily.
It's damn sexy.
I think it worked.
So who's Pedro?
So this one's funny because as you might have noticed, this is what new Pedro riff or new Pedro song. This is the second demo that I've written that's like inspired by Pedro the Lion, who is still like one of my biggest influences. Incredible songwriter, and just basically like every year is like one of my top listened to like artists. Actually, What's Best for You was the first like Pedro like inspiration song. Like that demo, when I find it, is also named after him. And then this was the second song. Usually when I record demos, if I don't have like any like kind of an empty mind, I'm like, I don't know what to call it, I'll just name it like either something ambiguous named after the inspiration, and so that's where this came from.
I've done that a lot with P Daddy.
Like, yeah,
there's a couple in there where it's like P Daddy 1, P Daddy 2. There's like Mom Jeans 3 or stuff like that, which would also be 6 song titles at some point down the road.
P Daddy 3, Yeah, that's I've been asked about that actually like a surprising amount. It's like it's like a name like Pedro. Who's like is it a Napoleon Dynamite reference? And
that was where I went to first as well.
Yeah, Pedro the Lion, like my biggest inspiration across like my discography, I think.
Into a rosary. Is that how it's supposed to be?
This song is called My End.
It's a great one. It's actually one of my favorites, to be honest with you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I do have a great memory of sending you this demo, and your reaction, we talked about in another episode. Yes. You're like, I could hear people screaming this back at you.
Yeah, I mean, like, that hook is so simple. I mean, you really don't say many words, but, like, it's one of those things that you could just, like, chant along to. And I think it's so powerful, especially because I feel like this one is like at least the way it sounds is it's like deeply personal. And I think a lot of people could relate to that in like an audience.
Yeah. So this was a crazy experience. Of the date is December 14th, 2019, which I'll never forget because we did Home, Happy, Stay, and Diet live as Lampshade sessions.
Oh yes, that's right.
At the end of 2019 when none of these songs were out.
Right.
And I was just like looking ahead, and this is pre-pandemic and everything like that too. So I really wanted us to do it in Connor's spot. I think Joe played drums, Sarah played bass, Connor played guitar, and then I fronted. And so we did this at Connor's house. You know, we did a whole day. I think we went out afterwards too. We like went and got dinner, and then I got home, and for some reason I cracked the acoustic open and just wrote this demo. And I was just like, wow, I felt so inspired from everything going on, and had all this energy flowing through me. And it was great too. When the record was growing, Connor was obsessed with Stay in my end. He's like, God, those are some of my favorite songs I've ever heard. It's just funny. It's like I literally was inspired from working with you all day, and then kind of came to fruition through that.
It's always interesting as like a creative, like being so inspired by like other creatives, where it's like, oh, you go to a show, you come back, want to write a song or do whatever. But like, it's funny specifically this one because it's like something that you were like very a part of. Like this was for you, but you're like inspired by the people you were working with, and you just came home and wrote. And this one specifically feels like it's sort of sprouted out of the earth, almost fully formed. Like you were like, the song largely stayed the same.
There was only one demo really, and I remember we had a couple different sessions because John and I went to that NAMM show, and we did dates like around that. It was I could now talk about it. It was simultaneously me working with Eric and then Eric working on Sickness and Flames.
Oh yeah,
so
you couldn't say that before.
That was yeah. They were doing dates. He's like, I could do Friday. I can't do Saturday because we're doing stuff at Barbershop, TFB stuff. I'm like, whoa, that's so cool. I wasn't even mad. I was like, yeah, I wasn't even mad. I was like, oh yeah, you guys should. Like, I'll just pick a different day. It's fine. Because I had the window before doing the Have Mercy tour. I'm going to the NAMM show and then trying to get this record done, which Eric was super tight with too. Like he wanted to get it done too. I would meet up with him certain after hours of him working on other sessions at his house because I lived like 10 minutes down the street. So I would just go there and cut like little things here and there. It's super cool about it. But
that must have been really convenient to have someone like who is so willing to work with you, like around their schedule and yours, and like have an almost equal passion about like
it sounded
what they were
amazing
doing.
too. Like the bottom line, it didn't sound half-assed in any way. It was like fully attentive. This was one of the coolest arrangements I've ever been a part of. Really just working. I remember on the plane ride back, just listening to the acoustic demo. We tracked like a demo of me just playing the song and singing, and we were like kind of improv the bridge, and we built everything around the bridge being improvised because I just played chords. I'm like, I want to try to not play the same progression twice or do the like descending thing again. And then when we brought Samir on it, we just wanted to do, we were like fighting what beat it would be, and we were like, no, we really want to do some, what's the guy, John Bellarose or something like that, Eric and Samir loves, is like percussionist. Gotcha. So we were trying to make it like as simple as can be with all these percussion instruments layered. And, you know, Eric's basement had like everything. Like,
I mean, that's
like
Eric's
the weirdest,
like forte, really.
Yeah, like the weirdest things. And we just kept layering stuff like that on top. And then I forget if Eric tried bass guitar or not, but he was like, we got to go synth bass. I was like, whoa. So it was like acoustic driven synth bass. And then this like weird drum part layered out. And then some of my favorite vocals I've ever done. It was one of those times you're doing vocals, you feel it in the take. You're like, oh, like doing all this soft like verses, and I was like, oh, these are so clean. I like knew that this song, like you said about Angels, was bigger than me. It was something I was creating. Like I was like a small brush on a big canvas of like what other people were throwing on. But also getting to use the Leslie, which I think was the only time we used it on the record. But, you know, Eric's got two of them. So, like,
of course he does.
Having the Leslie go through for that riff. Yeah. Oh, my God.
And it sounds huge because of it. Like, that's the lick that, like, mimics the melody, right? The vocal melody. And, like, there are times I know I'm listening to the record, I'm like, wait, is that, like, him singing with, like, a filter over? Or is that, like, the guitar because of how, like, crazy it sounds?
It
like,
really...
It's amazing.
I wanted to do what I call the annoying pop trick, where you do the vocal melody with another instrument simultaneously.
Oh, it works so
because
well,
like
though.
a lot of times music annoys me in that way. If it's like all right, I get the hook, I get this. You're really trying to like, hey, this is a hook, when it should just be so free. Like there's millions of examples of it just killing it.
That's the trouble of being so self-aware about music, where it's like, of course, like I know the tricks, I know what they're trying to sell me, but it's like that's just because of being a creative. We recognize that, but to everyone else, like they buy in, like, oh, like that melody came back, I like that.
Yeah,
so
it's like
you
well,
gotta play around
they're
with
doing
it.
that for a purpose. Like it's but so this was my attempt to like I want to make a quote unquote annoying hook song, short and sweet, really like cutthroat.
Yeah, it really it really socks you, in a really good way. Where like I said, it becomes a sing along. Like the verses are easy to listen to, and then you're like, oh, like let me just like yell along with you to this hook that's just so easy to sing.
Which it's been coming back to in a couple shows. It's kind of been like the closer, especially us making set lists. It's like, yeah, this is probably the one to do at the end because it just like comes
It's
together
your end,
that
you know?
way. Yeah, pretty much. No, and it was cool making it a single. Like it was. Oh, we put it out on your birthday.
You did put
Like
it-
before,
yeah.
before the month before the record came out, and I feel like it kind of brought everything back together from putting Home out like pre-pandemic, and then we didn't know what was going on, even though the record was totally done for a while, and then Stay came out in December, but it was kind of a lull of everything going on. It's the month that everybody's like totally focused on other things. It's not the best month to put music out during.
It's really
and then
difficult.
putting my end out, and also it just being, you know, especially a song of mine that's that good, and it just cut through the noise pretty well. And like I think you know, at the beginning of 2021, no
2020, right?
no 2021 we put
Was
it
it?
out. We put it out this year. Yeah, because we put out the record in February of this year.
Was that? Are you sure?
Yeah, because you put out your EP the same day.
You're right.
Oh my God.
You're right. You're right.
Wow.
On my January 15th. Yeah.
Wow. So send Nick stuff on January 15th.
Yeah,
You can
yeah,
write
there
that
we go.
down now. You don't, yeah.
I'm doxing my birthday.
Docs.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. I mean, that's the interesting thing about the past like 2 years. It's like it becomes like a time. Yeah. What's what? But yeah, I feel like with a song that you hold so closely to yourself, like to your point, like you almost get worried, will it cut through the noise? And there's almost like a sigh of relief for like people are listening to it.
That is a song that still comes up, which again, like to me, it feels like so long ago. But that's one of the ones people brought up to me. Like, I love My End, and I'm like, that's great. You heard something. That's like that's what it's there for. That's what a single to me is like. All right, I really like this. I'm gonna check out the rest of their stuff. Or I fall victim of it a lot of the time. It's like, oh, I don't know that band super well, but I know that one song, I really like it, and then eventually you just get thrown into whatever it is.
And sometimes that's all that matters. Like if they like one song and are still willing to come see you, like play or support you, that's at the end of the day, like the cool thing. Like I think that's the goal, is to at least put out a song like someone likes, right? It doesn't have to be like, if they don't like the whole record, that's fine. I know I have friends like, and like I think we've talked about before with like my record, there's like some varying sounds there, and like I have friends that gravitate more towards like the rock stuff, and like I have this one friend who like really likes like 80s metal, and I'd be like, oh, like I really love that solo on What's Best For You. I'm like, oh yeah, Guy played that. And then, you know, I'll have some people like, you really need to lean into that electronic direction. I'm like, don't worry, I am. So as long as someone picks something up good from the record, like that's what counts. And I think My End is that for a lot of people.
Yeah, there's something for everybody. When Eric and I met up initially, after we tracked Home, I presented him the idea. I wanted to do a record together, and he was like, amazing. He was like, yes, this would be so interesting for me. Like, yeah.
It kind of almost adds to the lore, because like now at this point, up until like the point that you recorded with Eric, we had known him for a pretty long time, like him being a professor for us, like our adjunct professor, and like being in bands we played with, like, oh.
So now you have to do a full length with them.
Maybe.
That'd be scary.
I got to get a budget up for that.
Oh my god.
That'd be so cool, though.
Oh, I'd be in full support of it. But like we met up and we were talking about like, so what's the target demographic of this going to be? And like things like that. It's like, what are we making type deal. I remember like Soccer Mommy's Clean was a big, because I think it was mostly Sophie.
Yeah, Sophie.
I think it was Sophie and a producer instead of a full band. I think it
Really?
was mostly
I didn't know that.
dynamic. So Eric was like, we could work with something like that because it's a similar genre. We could work in that, like, bring drummers in or wherever we need, because we're pretty accomplished with what we're trying to do. Like we could do,
You have the vision, yeah.
We can make like music happen. But he was like, we were talking about demographic and everything. He's like, well, college kids now listen to like Taylor Swift and Death Grips at the same time. It's just there's no genres, like it's everywhere. It's like people's tastes and ranges are everywhere. So like you putting out a thing that like has these different types of movements, and then back to what you were saying about like as long as one song hits with people or whatever in a collection. And when you first said you were going to do an EP with New Year's Eve on it and everything, I was immediately hooked, because I was like, all you need is like one like that kind of song. Right. What's funny about my end is that the last 2 weeks I've been currently sleeping on the $30 twin air mattress from the My End music video.
Which you had to point out to me, like in that video, I didn't even realize that was like an air mattress. Maybe you had told me in passing that it was a set like done in Chris's studio. Didn't even realize that. It looks exactly like a bedroom.
It's a set. Yeah. Everybody thinks it's a bedroom, which is like, yeah, that would be easy. But when you're trying to get different shots and a full scope and like things to move around too, because there's like posters fall and break and stuff like that. And that was really crazy. That was all Sarah's vision. That was her whole, we originally wanted to do like a skateboardy video.
Cool. Which would have worked.
Yeah, because that was the vibe we were all seeing, and then it was logistically November.
Skating in the freezing cold. I mean, someone is.
I'm not making it.
Doing
a stupid music video, but so she pitched this idea, and it worked. She found the actors in the video and everything, and it all came together. Everybody really killed it, because you have people that weren't like actors right, like in this, and just like the shots and everything. Oh my God, some of my favorite artwork, and
it was really well done.
Everything came from it. Yeah, it was awesome. And Connor came to the shoot, and him and I, I did my parts, and then him and I were just chilling the whole time, like eating all the snacks, like just like watching them like shoot this thing, and Sarah's like full on directing and like following Chris with the rig and everything, and it was just like, it was a lot of fun. It's always like, that's one of the main things that stood out ever since we went in like Chris's garage to do those first 2 music videos. It's always just like, what's going on behind the product of like the fun we're having making it, and the stories of the studio and everything like that. Always live for the story. That's why like playing a lot of shows and like tour just feels like the ultimate like story.
Right? Because you meet people, you have some kind of experience, and like that always leads into something else. Like, I mean, with all the people that we've mentioned, so far, Eric, Chris, Connor, it's like we have stories that lead into like the relationships we have with them now. And and the places we were with that, like including Chris's garage and his studio and the air mattress that, you're sleeping on now that was in that video. Like it all kind of culminates in the into the experience.
I really wrote off the last year and a half or 2, but we still got a lot done. I mean, we put a full record out, made music videos. We're still making a lot of content. Like that, nothing's really stopped, and I feel like we're going at an average pace.
I think it's definitely above. I mean, you had a whole album under your belt before you released the previous one. I think that's probably
Which
above.
Feels really good. It's just like I don't really want to stop at any point, which is the most important thing. Like this is just, to me, this is just the beginning. Even though putting music out since we were in college and even before that, it's like, no, this is the new beginning. The other new beginning.
There's always
like,
a new beginning. And I think the whole idea is that, creating that song that people resonate with and trying to recreate that magic.
you say June 2014?
I said June 2014. It's my oldest song by about 6 months, which is crazy. New Year's Eve is like the next.
What are we doing?
Dude, I have no idea.
This
At
is
that
so
moment,
long ago.
Yeah, and at that moment, I didn't even have like mom fights. So, like, I had no excuse to not try to pursue that and make that a real thing. I was just sitting on it. I don't know why. And I know that was an era of me like trying to write and demo a lot, and that was the first full song that I'd ever finished that I was ever proud of, coming off the heels of like my first big breakup. And it just sat there. And then the Nameling stuff came along, and I brought back, a slightly newer song, New Year's Eve, and some of the newer songs I wrote, and they all sort of meshed really well. And the first song, and that song actually was supposed to be on the record, and I cut it. I was like, it doesn't vibe at all. But then Angels happened, and like that's dark, and that's kind of weird. And the timing just felt good. I was like, I have a dark, minor key song out. Why not go for another? Let's revive this old song that I cut, a year earlier, 2 years earlier. And it came out better than I could have expected, because originally, again, a song that was supposed to be acoustic, and the vision even for that was like, a full band thing, or let's do it a rock thing. I remember we were in the same songwriting class in college, and someone was like, oh, that kind of sounds like Citizen. When I did like a work in progress demo of it, I was like, oh, that's really cool, because that's what I was listening to at the time. And I'm so glad I let it sit, because it's so different now.
Yeah. Oh my God. Is that where I heard it? Because I remember we lived together. Did we live together for the songwriter class? No.
Not yet.
So I heard it before we lived together.
Yeah.
That's insane. Which, like, every time you played something in your room, it was either Death Cab or Mansions or Neutral Milk, and I'd always be like, everything you're playing is amazing. And then you'd be like, oh, this is actually one of my own. I'm like, God. Like, I'm like sitting in there, I'm having you come in, like, oh, can you help me with this FA verse, or can you help me? Just like, I'm not crazy, right? Does this sound bad or something like that?
And those are always great moments. I loved that. I loved giving the feedback. And at that time, I don't know what it was, where I was like holding all this stuff so close to my chest. Even when like we lived together, I was like, oh, let me like replay that song in my bedroom. And I'm like, nope, like we're not going to do anything with this yet.
Literally, yeah. You were just for me. And I was like, damn, I thought I was encouraging. You just want to do anything.
That wasn't you at all.
I was like, am I like the negative vibe?
No, you're always the driving force of anything. I mean, that's why Nameling happened in the first place with the record itself. I mean, you have to figure. I was sitting on those songs, like, hey, when are you putting those songs out?
Oh, that too, yeah. Well, we helped you track it, and then you were just like, it was like a joke. It was like, yeah, Nick's never gonna put these out. Of course. Well, there was a period where nothing Joe played on came out.
Right. So like he was the curse.
Like he was like, when's that thing coming out too? Like just everything was always getting delayed, or it was like somebody's side project or something like that. Joe's like, well, that's never coming out or whatever. Like just like I played on something else that's not coming out.
Which is hilarious. I think everyone kind of had like a lot going. Like for me, I know like I just started grad school when the masters came back, and I was like, I'll get to it.
Well, it's a lot. It's not just like, oh, I'm gonna put this, like record the stuff and put it out. It's like, hey, you trying to do a music video? Hey, you want to play my sister's graduation? Hey, you want to do this thing? Hey, you should do this. Looks like you need to buy a van. Looks like you're going on tour. Say goodbye to your family. Like it always works like that after you have like one good song. So you're like, all right, I got it now. I'm gonna hold these close to my chest.
Which I actually think ties back to Day of the Dead, where I was like, I don't even want to think about this song like being recorded and put out until like I have a collection of songs that I'm ready to actually do something with. And at the time, like I was writing at a glacial pace. Like nothing was getting finished except like Day of the Dead, then New Year's Eve, which was like 6 months later. So it was just a very slow process for me. I just had a whole collection of ideas that never really became anything. Because I didn't want to do anything yet. I was like, oh, I'm in college. I can't break away. I just want to go to shows and hang with my friends and do my classwork. So I held on to it for a very long time. And then I think, you know what I really think it was? Like now that I finally got Angels out, I got the EP out, I was finally releasing music as an artist. I was like, I probably should get a move on if I want to coincide the Day of the Dead with the calendar Day of the Dead holiday. So I was like, all right. And I did. Thank God. It almost didn't happen.
That was an interesting release too, because there wasn't like a lot of like push behind it, or as a single, like by yourself, it's like, who does care? But also you need to get the music out. It's
Right.
like you're not really sending it around to like management, or
No,
we're
not
trying to do a
yet.
big push or anything. So I just noticed that you were like, oh yeah, tonight at midnight. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
it's coming out. And I don't think I heard, Connor showed it to me once, but I don't think you showed me the like master version, or I don't know,
I don't think I did.
because it was in such a small window.
It was a very small window. By the time I had paid Connor to mix it, and like I got the mixes back, I paid Connor. I sent the money to get it all mastered, and I got the masters back. That was only, I think I probably decided on the master that I liked out of two. 3 weeks before the release date, and then I was like, okay. So I picked it, and then I made the art that night. Again, spending. I had an original idea, came up with it, messed around for maybe 3.5 hours, and then ended up reverting back to the original idea. I was like, Jesus Christ, which happens for me meticulously.
Wait, you made the art?
Mhm.
This is one of my favorite artworks.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, it's funny because I mean, it really, at the end of the day, it's just a photo with some type over it. Like the photo is unedited, but it's like 2 layers of text all just like kind of tied together.
Yeah, but still, again, the picture, you strive with these pictures.
Yeah.
Which now I'm thinking about, your whole catalog is just
Photos. Just photos. And I love that. I think that's kind of my vibe. Maybe that'll change, but who's to say? But I love it, and I think there's something sort of eerie about it. I kind of wanted to give like an area, like it's because that picture's like taken like on the water and like a national park where there's like life growing out of like a body of water. And I'm like, total opposite, life and death.
Well, it's a very November like song. I think it was we were driving up 2 days ago for Thanksgiving. It was just like, oh, these leaves are so beautiful in the park. Where I'm like, that's not gonna last long. And a day later,
Yeah, they're
all
done. They
dead.
fall off.
Yeah,
They die.
just
Yeah.
like things are shedding. I think I woke up at my mom's house and the curtains were closed, but you saw the shadows of the leaves falling.
Right. Which is like sort of the idea behind the song in itself. Like with the ending of my first relationship, where it was kind of sudden for me. It was very sudden and unexpected. And that's like the idea behind the song, idea behind like the art, like something like living and like you thought was like so fruitful, and then just like dying suddenly. Right. And like it comes across in the lyrics, and I guess in the way in the art, like those leaves, the sort of foliage in that picture will eventually die all of a sudden.
Isn't death sudden already?
Exactly.
Like, how
That's
much
kind of the
more
idea.
sudden could it get? Yeah, because I did want to bring up the artwork because I love it so much. And then that song came out, and it was just kind of like I was sharing it to people via text. I was like, "You gotta hear this." I was like, "You gotta hear this." Like, I don't care if this cuts through or not. Like on Instagram stories or whatever. Like, this needs to be heard. This is amazing. One of my favorite hooks of definitely the year, maybe even all time. How did you guys like composite that? Because that definitely wasn't in the original demo. The instrumental hook.
The instrumental hook, that bridge, that just came together in the studio, like almost improv, because I had a bridge that I wrote as a young man, we'll say someone in his, I think I was probably just shy of 21, that I don't really vibe with anymore. I was like, those lyrics kind of feel weird to me now, so I'm like, we're not using them. And then I kept trying to write, nothing was coming to me, and then Connor and I were sitting down, and we're like, let's just make it instrumental, playing whatever we wanted to, like on guitar, and then he played something, and I just like pointed at him. I was like, that's it. That's the idea, and we tripled it. I think it was like on 2 places on an acoustic guitar, and then once on an electric guitar.
Triples is best.
Triples is best, yeah.
Triples is best.
On top of that, I guess the progression there, like every part of that song up until that point, and it had the bridge been the original way I played it, would start on the same chord. It was always starting on that same, the one minor 1 chord. I was like, I don't want that this time. So let's make it major sounding, sort of happy, and then we did that. I wrote it. We laid it down. Put the sort of guitar lick over it, and then we continued the there's like a twinkly guitar part that goes across through it, and it just changes the context of it. And I was floored by how that came out. But all improv.
It flushes so well back into the darkness you have going on the rest of the song. But yeah, that is one of my favorite hooks. So that's definitely the J37 on that, the tape saturator. But are you, okay, so you say you triple the guitar.
Yeah. Triples is best.
Yeah, that was perfect.
I love
actually.
it. So, dude, I love it.
I think we did put some kind of like warbly effect on it, but like that on top of 2 octaves of guitar, because there's a low version of it and a high version of it, and them playing together is what like really makes it sound all sorts of messed up.
It's like the meme that's been circulating where it's like, artists really trying to get it so perfect and tight, and the recording now it's like, I have a plugin where I could detune it and make it. Thank you.
Yeah, the perfect meme.
That very much encompasses that.
It's like, yeah, lo-fi is the new wave, you know.
Honestly, so I remember when we went to Nashville a couple years ago. I went to Third Man with you, and of course I've recorded there a bunch of times by now, but I didn't record that day. You did.
Yeah. Are you sure you didn't record that day?
I did not record that
Wow,
day.
that's crazy. But yeah, I did, and I felt like a fool because I think I put my money in, ready to go, and then I look at the guitar on the wall, and there's only one, and it's right-handed. As a lefty, I'm like, shit. So I pick it up, I figure it out in the moment before the thing starts up, and because obviously as someone who works in a music school or worked at the music school at the time, I had to make do. There was one left-handed guitar in that place and it was terrible. So I could figure out songs a bit better now upside down, and that's what I had to do for this one. And I thought it went pretty well. I have a little vinyl of it, a little lathe cut. It was pretty cool. I think that same year I put it in my dad's record player, hooked up to the stereo, hooked that up to my laptop, and ripped it. And I found that about last week, and I listened back, and it sounds terrible. I'm messing up all over the place. Obviously, as you imagine, pops and flutters like so loud. I'm going to try to re-rip it again, but the whole idea, for anyone who follows me on Instagram, the idea that if Day of the Dead, the official version, hits 1K on Spotify, I'll just like put this version of it on like Bandcamp and YouTube, and so people can just like listen to it, because it's kind of funny to me where it's like this is like a primitive version of the song, and it kind of has like this weird eerie lo-fi-ness to it because of how messed up it sounds. But I'm like just like like playing wrong chords everywhere. It's great.
The Robert Johnson version,
It
the
is
Robo.
it is like the Robert
the Rojo version.
It's really like hilarious to me though, because there are moments where like I hit the wrong chord, but I'm like, I should have incorporated that wrong chord into the, 'cause like sometimes it sounds cool, like a leading tone type deal. And I'm like, I just forgot it.
Yeah. No, that's, you get me super stoked to hear it.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm going to send it to you, and we'll probably include it in this somewhere, but it was just a cool experience, honestly, to get into that booth, record a version of a song that didn't even exist yet, and then have that as a physical medium forever.
Dude, we're talking like 2016.
Yeah, 2016, the year we graduated.
Yeah,
that was our senior trip.
That was insane. I can't believe that's so long ago, and like you did that for a song that just came out.
Yeah, this
like
year.
Officially on the internet.
5 years later. 5.5 years later.
In the making.
Yes, a 7-year-old song recorded 5.5 years ago, put out November 2021.
That sounds like it's from 1935. Well,
it literally does.
I'm glad it came out.
Yeah, me too.
that's the song.
I love that. Sorry. I love that song so much. There's that one. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because like from us living together, or that one feels like almost like too close to home. And I've never knew what that song was about, but it feels very close to home.
It's I'm just blown away that they're like, I love the like upbeat version and we never do it. I want to sneak it in at some point.
You
I feel
definitely
like.
could.
When you moved on, were you angry? Or just trying to start something new without us? Would it help if you forget me? Since I can't hold my tongue for very long. Nothing makes you stay, what could I do? Nothing makes you stay, what could I do? If nothing makes you say what
Yeah, the way the demo came out and everything. It was just how we turned it into one of the cool. Oh my God, we were at Eric's place and I was like, I feel like we should do to this what we were doing with like this whole new record and everything. I feel like the song has to be on here. Like it'd be so sick, and it'd be like, yeah. And it just worked out so nicely. Yeah, we did a lot of that song in his like the side room of his house, the office, quote unquote.
Of course.
And just layering acoustic guitars or electric guitars super clean, just DIing them. And then like in the studio having like, we had Donna Frio come like smack the drums and like Eric put bass on it, and it came together so nicely. But it was just like coming through that was a huge like help.
When you moved on, were you angry? Or just trying to start something new without us? Would it help if
Yeah, I feel like you get a very different perspective on the song from like this upbeat demo, which, hey, maybe we could take on the road.
That was the initial idea. That and like Happy came out of the same session. One of my roommates moved out and I would go in his old room and just write. Like I would go, the acoustics were awesome in there. It was the biggest room in the apartment, and there was a good month or two that no one was in it. So I would just go with my acoustic and work on stuff or practice. There's something about it where it wasn't my bedroom. So I'd go in there and just, it was a totally different feel and vibe, and it kind of made me sad a little bit being in there. And that song was one of the first things to ever come through. I think even predating a voice app memo was a video. I took a video of me playing the song, which is interesting. I don't think I've done that before with other songs.
Does that exist somewhere? I don't think I've ever seen
Yeah,
that.
it's definitely buried in my gallery, like somewhere.
That's really interesting, though. I think the that feeling manifests in the final version of the song, especially of like you sitting in this like room that's almost like foreign to you for a second because it's empty. It's not what it was before, and then that foreignness kind of translates.
Yeah, especially I'm so proud of the music. That's one of my favorite videos we've ever shot.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And that was super fun to do and kind of led into the next phase of imagery of what I wanted to do, because I forgot who. Oh, when we did the Heaven Knows thing with David, where it was just piano and vocal. Right. I showed it to Eric before it came out. He's like, "Oh, no guitar." He's like, "Wow, I've never seen you without a guitar before." And as awkward as I am, it's just like the ability to take really the thing I hide behind all the time away. And Stay was another like great use of that. But I mean, when we play it live, I love like pedaling on it. It's just easier for the set and everything. But it was cool kind of doing that, like kind of like rap dance for the music video as I'm like going through it. And it was just, that was so great. We were in and out of there pretty quick with the exception of the guy coming in like, who the hell are you and what are you doing? And Chris was like, and Sarah and I were just like, we're just doing this thing real quick or whatever. We have clearance, like whatever, because it was pretty much like breaking and entering. Oh God! It was our old rehearsal space, but obviously we hadn't been there like that whole year. And Chris, from a friend of his, like got in. And like he got that because it's open. Like we were in a room that was open. We weren't going into like a locked room or anything. And this dude was just like, "What?" Like the one day I've never seen anyone there who's actually of the building there. Yeah. And the one day we're doing this thing for like 2 hours, but got the final cut of the video that night because it was just like Chris putting the song underneath it, and like it worked out super well.
It's gorgeous too. I mean, it encapsulates the feeling of the song, and it's like it kind of shows that vulnerability. Like like I'm not behind a guitar.
Yeah, which the whole song's kind of about being vulnerable and new things, change. But what is it not about? Whole type deal. Of
course, I think that's sort of the human condition, right? Like getting used to change and people entering and leaving your life.
Yeah, and it tied along so well with that first half of the record, of kind of trying to understand other people. And then the second half of the record is really diving into yourself, and then coming back. It kind of comes back up to the surface level of like understanding other people type deal.
It becomes like altogether like a sort of like a reflection.
Yeah.
There we go.
One of my favorite parts about Stay was getting to do the least of all sessions, and that being one of the staple tracks.
That's right. Yeah, that was a really cool thing that you guys got to do for some of those songs. What was that experience like?
Well, we tethered ourselves to 3 songs. We're like, we're only going to do these. These are going to be the arrangement we're doing. And it'll just be easier to do like these 3 songs over and over again. Sure. And it was cool because we did Stay, Home, and My End, which were both like, they're pretty short. They're easy to get through. And I think Sarah was playing guitar. Connor was doing like some aux stuff, and Shaker, we were all singing. And
really interesting.
Stay just was one of those ones that it was we even had Connor sing one of the versions that him and Victoria have. Like It was funny because this is still one of his favorite songs. I think one of the last time we talked about like him being at the gym, he was just like, oh yeah, I have this. Like, can you imagine if people are listening to what the pop producer's listening to in his headphones while he's like lifting? But he was saying like Stay is one of his favorite songs to put on at the gym, especially comfortably knowing that no one else knows he's listening to that while working out.
It's like his little secret. Like everyone's listening to like heavy metal and hardcore or like rap or something.
I can't say I've listened to Stay working out.
A single tear like runs down his face.
No, I'm trying to get like the angriest, heaviest music going when I'm working out. Like I remember that the Every Time I Die stuff from last year, like really like was on heavy rotation. The Knock Loose stuff, Story So Far, like those always come through.
Get you pissed off to like really push.
I think I had such a great workout one time to the new Foo Fighters record. Nice. But then listening to it not working out, I was like, oh God.
It's like, why did I do that?
Yeah, it was embarrassing. That's not for me.
It's that post-workout clarity.
Yeah. Moved on. You're excited. Trying to start something new without us.
I think that just kind of goes to show like the sort of level of connection that some people did have to the song. Connor specifically in that instance. So he has a version of that song where like he sings on it?
Yeah, on vinyl.
We gotta leak that.
Yeah, I guess, or we could just like ask to hang out again. Be like, hey, can we come back to your apartment? Play with your cats.
I just texted him like, yeah, we have to hang out. He's like,
oh,
please.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody's initiating it because especially it's crazy right now. The season with everybody's traveling. I'm traveling twice in the same month because I thought I would only be traveling once, and now it's like, oh,
it's a lot. Everyone's traveling, tracking, doing whatever. Everyone's busy.
Yeah, I mean, we're all talking about how like booked up we are already into the new year. It's like, oh my god, we're not gonna see anybody till like February, if that.
Well, at the very least, without hanging out, I'll at least get to see him at the end of January for tracking my new stuff.
You will, yeah.
So that'll be fun.
What a thing to talk about on my song.
I'm a selfish guy. What can I say? This is New Year's Eve.
Do not stay for me, 'cause I'm not the world, no, not even close. I'm just a temporary settlement, a dot on the map.
You got any plans for New Year's?
Cry, I guess. I don't know.
You love doing that.
I do love doing that. I have a history of doing that. Lo and behold, Exhibit A, New Year's Eve by Nameling, my second oldest song. This is the one that kind of put me on the map.
Put you on the map.
In a way.
I remember when Burke did those sessions out of our basement my junior year, and he had you do New Year's Eve, and I wanted that recording so bad. I think it was on. He sent it to me. I think I had it in like a Google Drive. Well, I'm saying aside from YouTube, like aside from the video with the recording, but
Is there a link on that? I feel like that YouTube video has like a link to the recordings.
But is it on SoundCloud or something?
It might
or
be. I don't know.
Bandcamp?
I'm actually not sure now.
It was awesome. It was so cool. I always wanted to have it like in a playlist with other things on like Spotify or YouTube or anything like that. Sure. Now we do, and it's super cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like the sort of reprise on the EP, the New Year's Eve reprise, is sort of an homage to that. Specifically, that video, really, where it's like this is the version of the song all my friends like sort of knew and loved for years prior to me recording it. So like that was kind of a shout out to everybody. Like you included, like who sort of hyped me up about that song. My friends from home, they would like give me a guitar and be like, yo, play something, and I was like, I have 2 songs finished, and here's one of them, and that was kind of what stuck with everybody.
You could sail where you please, all you need is a boat. So do not stay for me, 'cause I'm not a god, I'm just a ghost.
Did you do Reprise with Connor?
Yeah, that was all done at his, spot. I was like, we did this full song. I was like, by the way, I would like to do an acoustic version of the song, maybe kind of like lo-fi. It's like, how about one mic? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great.
Because it does sound like it's got the same feel to it as when I first heard the song, which is crazy. Yeah. Like, I can't believe you did that in that same session. Was I there for it or no? Was that a different day?
For the, it was
for the Reprise?
You might have been there. That's like a good question.
I don't remember at all.
I also don't remember. I remember the moment recording it. I remember he turned the lights down, but I don't remember who was there.
I remember for a while New Year's Eve was one of my favorite things to show people because it's like I'm on this, but it's not about me
Right.
type deal. And it's like, I'm very proud of like my friends made this, because I think up until that point, kind of showing people what Connor did, he did like Nick and the Bunks went and did that Arabella cover.
That's right.
And it sounded so. I was showing
That's awesome.
people that, and then we re-listened to it a couple months ago because I don't think it ever came out.
I don't think it did.
And I was like, this is one of my favorite things ever. And this was like pre-bands coming down into your basement. Like you had like nothing finished there. I don't even know if you had to talk back.
Yeah, I don't know how he did that, to be honest with you.
No, they killed it.
Yeah, but this was one of those things. It kind of was in that same vein, not like sonically, obviously. That Arabella cover is rock as hell, but this is sort of that thing, like an homage, like to Friends, and like it felt personal, where it's like, oh, like here's the Bunks and Nick just like doing something for them, and this was something for me.
Well, this ties into the whole Death Cab thing because they have the New Year, and you have New Year's Eve. And I feel like it's always nice adding to the emo pile. I notice a lot of bands doing this now with like paying homage to the Hotelier, which is interesting because it's not even that old. It feels like so. I mean, hell, I think 2021 was 2 years. Split in two, but it feels like 2 years for me when it was just one. I don't even make it fully through it yet, but like, Hotelier wasn't even that long ago too. I thought it was.
They kind of just
way
spearheaded
older.
the emo revival. Yeah, that was that 2015.
A lot of bands right now are like paying homage to that, either lyrically or with some kind of like whole like shtick, and I find it always cool because I feel like you are my gateway into that genre, which is one of my favorite things ever. When we were like blowing through that list in college of checking out like the Promise Ring or Sunny Day or stuff like that.
I mean, those bands, and I often reference those bands, but I mean, they go even 15 years earlier, and now it's like, that's my sort of encyclopedia that I'm like pulling from. Like I'm looking up, like here's all these emo and emo adjacent artists, Death Cab included, or I'm like pulling pieces out of.
Where was I? I was looking at mattresses yesterday, and a Death Cab song was on in the mattress store. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, yeah,
it's always somewhere, you know.
Why are you listening to me music? No, but I think because I know like what's the one with the acoustic lead in it? Everybody's gonna hate me, but plays
Soul and Body.
Soul and Body. Soul Meets Body plays
Meets
it
Body,
at Whole Foods a lot.
It's a great song.
I know, but
incredible
it's
song.
like, why does that play at Whole Foods? Like,
Why not? Gives you
that's
the vibe.
such an out there song. Like,
It was a single. I think.
I know, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It's like way too good for like the rest of the stuff they're playing. Like, come on.
But it gets people into the vibe. You know, you feel hip listening to
I'm
it.
for it.
And that's
Yeah, you feel hip listening. Oh my god, you're right though.
That's why I love Death Cab. That's why I reference them so much. Like not with words, but with like vibe, I guess.
It's definitely an influence. I mean, for me too, because it's kind of like a thing based around one guy doing that whole like.
Yeah, Ben Gibbert's that's his song. I mean, obviously the band contributes a whole lot in their case, but like Ben Gibbert's still like the songwriter.
Yeah.
So like that's what it feels like. And actually, funny you speaking of Death Cab. Part of what shaped New Year's Eve, like full version, is you showing me Photo Booth. You're like, this should be a reference for this song.
Oh wow.
And I was like, oh.
I didn't show you Photo Booth.
You
though.
did. I
That's
didn't know that song
weird.
existed. Yeah.
That's very weird. Also, I found Photo Booth through Julian Baker, and that version, I can't find it online anymore. She did it for like the AV Club cover. We used to watch those all the time.
Those.
And
Undercover, AV Undercover.
And
yeah.
she did Photo Booth, and I was like, oh my god, this is so sick.
Unreal.
And I couldn't find. I know she did it like with Death Cab for shows, couple
That's
shows or
insane.
something. Oh, they had to. That was like the best PR they could have gotten. But like, it's gone now, and I'm like, oh no, there's like another version, but it's not that one, which is just like, I don't know. I was like, so I was married to that one.
I'm gonna have to track this down.
That's weird. That's horrible that I found that song through Julian Baker, and I showed you that song, which I thought you knew.
I did not know
up until right now, and then use as an inspiration. But yeah, oh, what a song! Oh my god,
incredible
that song's amazing.
song. Those guys are a huge inspiration to me for reasons like that, where it's like, oh, here's all this percussion, and I layered exactly as they did, you know, like electronic percussion, real drums, the sort of like convergence of that, and it's like gives you this full. There's something almost nostalgic about it.
I respect how big they are, but I also don't comprehend it. I don't comprehend how that band was headlining the Garden.
Oh yeah,
But it's like, what's a song we all know by them?
I'll Follow You Into the Dark, Soul Meets Body.
But still, are those that big to? I don't know.
The New Year, I think, is like up there.
I love that song. I love that record, but it's just like,
Yeah.
are those that big? But good for them. Good for them.
Sometimes it's hard when you're like so zoomed into like our culture, where people in our immediate scene know this, but like who else does? But like if you zoom out, I feel like there really is a huge following.
Yeah, it was super cool. Specifically in Salt Lake City, Utah. I forget the venue we played, but they had a wall of like everyone who's ever played there, like, you know, Polaroids or like photos, and it was like Death Cab from like super early. It might have been 2000, and like sweaty punk basement show type thing. And it's just like, oh my god, we just played the same venue. Like it's just like looking at all the bands that like play the Garden, but also played this spot in Salt Lake City. It was just like, oh my god.
There's the more we talk about it, I noticed like a trend in myself, especially as it regards to songwriters that influence me. And when I list them, I'm like, oh, Bright Eyes, Death Cab, Modest Mouse, Pedro the Lion. I'm like, some of these bands not only were contemporaries, but are all from like out west. Specifically, Death Cab and Pedro the Lion being from the same area, being collaborators and going on tour together. I'm like, oh, I have a type, I guess.
Yeah, you're like, I want to be in that scene. But we also, oh my god, we have the East Coast emo.
Oh, it's insane. There is nothing like it.
There's nothing like it. We're so sad over here.
Like it's miserable.
West Coast emo's got to keep up. No, we really have. Like I feel like all the party bands are from the Bay Area.
Oh yeah,
but
the Bay
like
Area's
over
got it
here,
locked,
it's just like the darkness. Like it's just.
That's what's beautiful about it.
I know the darkest corners of New York and everything. It's just it's great.
So that's why we get all like the screamo bands from like the East Coast.
No, literally.
Yeah.
Love is to die, I should lay to rest. And you're thinking about leaving, I think we know you should go. Cause you're looking for summer, all I am is the snow. Have you seen the king of heaven above? I haven't seen him.
I know that I want to see you do a full band show live for your songs, but I know mostly it's just easier to kind of present these songs in a stripped down way. And New Year's Eve could work in any fashion, and it should be a live staple for you because it's just so perfect as it is, bare bones.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at this point it's got to be it's got to be a live staple. I mean, that's for sure. Like I can't imagine a set where I'm not playing it just because of one, it's become so recognizable for me, and two, because it's sort of got me where I'm at. But yeah, that one's an interesting one for that reason, is that like I guess I could feel it out. Oh, depending on the venue, depending on the audience, really play it either way. It could be literally just me and a guitar, or I could do the full production on it, or I could do like a full live band on it. Like it could go either way. Yeah,
I'm excited to see which foot you put forward.
Definitely, it's going to take some planning. I haven't really committed to any, and I don't think I plan on committing to any of it, really.
Right, which is fine.
Yeah,
you should, yeah.
We'll see.
Well, especially right now is like the time where you could have one version of you doing something on YouTube or another version of you doing it like this, and it's just like, oh, like people sometimes watch. I remember like Pinegrove had that Aphasia video of just him playing acoustic. When that whole song, like it like there's a guitar solo in it. There's so much going on to it, but it was him on like the mattress, like playing acoustic, and that was such a big. Which I can't say if that like really helped, if that was another firecracker and them blowing up or not. But I know in our circle, a lot of people were like, "This is like everything about music in one video."
Yeah, am I thinking of a different video or the same one where they're outside, like in like the woods?
You're thinking of Skullkill Sessions,
right? And that's also Aphasia that they play there, but that's a few other people,
right?
And it's like again, but like it kind of plays into that idea of having multiple different either live versions or whatever recorded or live versions of a song. I think add to like the lore.
I don't even remember the original version of Alcove because the one they put out this year, the outdoors like acoustic one,
kind of reigns supreme,
shatters me. Yeah, I don't even remember the original Alcove, that whole second, like that other disc of Skylight that's just all acoustic. That I don't think's on the internet. I think it's just like vinyl people have it.
It is,
and that's one of my favorite things ever.
Like having all those songs acoustically is just like next level.
Yeah, it's intimidating.
It is intimidating. But on that same note, I think there's something fun. It sort of expands like your lore as an artist, where it's like you have all these versions of the same song, maybe tweak a line, tweak something in the arrangement, and it just like creates interest in you as an artist.
Especially the reprise version of New Year's Eve. So great. And like it's good that you didn't end the record with New Year's Eve and then play the reprise version. It fits so perfectly, and it's just kind of like takes you into this like, wow, the song like could stab me at any like whatever it's wearing, it could stab me type deal.
Yeah, exactly. Like it could be like sort of cloaked in its own sound, or it's like, you know, or totally sort of out in the open, if you will.
It's a good track.
Do not stay for me, 'cause I'm not the world, no, not even close. I'm just a temporary settlement, a dot on the map. I may not even be here once you make your way back. And you are not landlocked, you're so near to the coast. You could sail where you please, all you need is a boat. So do not stay for me, 'cause I'm not a god, I'm just a ghost. Have you seen the king of heaven above? He told me your name and taught me about love. Space take me up and away. I've seen too many things. I need my time in the back. I need to breathe it back. I'm starting to be attracted to everyone and everything I need. Because I'm dead space, I'm falling away from my friends again. Because I'm dead space, take me away from everyone and everything. I'm dead space.
So I think this might be my most listened to party guy song. It's just like there's something about it that always grabs me. I think it's like such a again, back to the idea of the sing along, where like this one right from the gate.
Hell yeah. When we played it, when we like debuted it,
Yeah.
so to speak, definitely the best reaction.
Was that the live stream that the song debuted?
Well, yeah, but I mean, when we played it in front of people
yeah.
at the church, that was
Oh my god, yeah.
definitely got the best reaction from it.
It captures this kind of like energy, but at the same time plays right into that sound you were going for the record. It's really that song is something special.
It was dicey. But I just knew Eric would make it fit. I always banked on that, and he delivered. Like it really came through.
He really knocked it out of the park. That chorus just like it does something. It's like you can sing along to it. You can feel it. You can feel your delivery of that chorus. Just like you mean it.
It was funny when Eric was tracking bass on the fly for it, and the chorus. I'm telling him the changes, and you know it changes. Like it changes the root of it halfway through. Instead of starting on the second, it starts on the root chord. Yeah. And he was like, "Oh, this is like a song." Like he was like, "Oh, this had some thought behind it." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know." It was so weird how it worked out. I can't even. I'm now realizing after digging through all these demos that there was multiple iterations of this one as well. When I originally thought, but I do remember the closest demo to the actual song I listened to all the time. I knew there was something in it. I knew it was like something I really wanted to do. Like there's something in that when I was like driving around doing deliveries. Like I was just like, this has to be stuff. Even like the stuff that was tracked at that point was Home, Happy, Stay, and Diet.
Right.
And then this one Out of the Gate, which I also want to give Dan credit for too. Dan Martyr, because when I had that first half of the record done, I showed it to him. He was a big fan of the EP. He told me the other night, he's still like the EP is his favorite. I was like, okay. Yeah, and he was just like, you guys just rip so hard on it. It's great. But he was like, I feel like if this is half of the album, you should have another like punch in the face. Because that's what you're known to doing. You're taking a turn. So you have to, like, but you want to still have that in there. And I mean, I'm sure other people said it too, but when he said it really resonated with me. I was like, you're right. I should have something. And like, we'll make it fit. And like, Eric also juxtaposes, he is very soft singer-songwriter, like folky things, and also the heaviest noise around here. So like, can do everything. Yeah, so I figured it would be a good mashup of putting it through.
Yeah, it really is a good mashup, and I know you had, I'm sure at least you had sent me that demo when it was happening, but us listening to it today before we recorded this, I was really amazed at that demo. There was like so much value in that original track that just shined in the full version of it.
I appreciate that. Yeah. The song just kind of like, especially it was one of the first things bringing Samir on in the Idle Wave world of like, all right, we're going to pick up the pace kind of deal and go into this whole other like world. I want things to be like loud and like boomy. And like,
there's like a double time part, right?
There's a double time part. Like it's just like all this stuff going on and so much fun, especially like when we were running the kind of that live record debut iteration of it. Connor was like, damn, this one is really fun to play live. And we were like, every time we rehearse, we're always like, let's just do Space one more time. Even though it's fine, we're like, we just want to play it again because it's so short and like,
it's a short song. It's fun to play. It's fun to hear. It's like, that's a song, like if the audience isn't responsive yet, like it's a sure way to get people like on their feet.
I think it captures my attention span too, where it's definitely our weirdest song stylistic, like kind of like section wise and arrangement wise, which I love. It's like it couldn't be more perfect arrangement wise in my eyes, like of how it like flows into all these different things and it comes at this like weird section later out of nowhere where it's just like that originally wasn't part of that song. That was a different demo to something else that my old roommate Bobby and I were working on, and we were just hammered one day like putting this whole thing together. And it was in a different key and everything. I think it was called For Now.
Words out of my mouth, I'll give everything for myself, and it's hell if it don't work out. You say it's the only thing I think about.
Insane how you could just put something else you're working on. I don't know what I was thinking where I was like, I'll bridge these ideas together.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you about, because as a songwriter that I've known, at least in my time knowing you, you've always been someone who writes very stream of consciousness, and like what the demo is like it forms into a song, even if it's not already completely a done song. But like, I don't know if I've known you to combine two separate ideas into one culminating piece, and this is one of those instances where you have. So how did that happen?
Funny enough, there's times where I like go look back at like old demos and everything, and before writing the EP, Smoke and You Caught Me were the same idea. Like there's an old recording, right? I think I'm playing the chords to Smoke, like the chorus chords, and I'm saying like You Caught Me. And like listening back, it's so trippy that those became entirely different ideas on it. But that's a good point. How did this come to fruition? I don't know. Because I think by the final demo I sent to Eric or whatever it was, we were kind of just like set on this end part where everything decrescendos and like breaks apart.
Right. So it was pre-studio that this, like you had put them together.
I want to say so. Yeah, it was one of the. I felt so dumb. I was like, and then we're gonna start out like pretty chill. Then we get really loud and we're gonna go really fast and we're gonna like break it all down. And Eric's like, okay, and I'm just like, no, here's my idea. Like I was like such a little kid about the idea of just like I had all these ideas I wanted to, whereas everything else like made sense. It was like this is a flow. Even like coming from doing like Diet and everything.
Of course, where it's like it's one vibe and it's like. But I think that kind of enthusiasm shines on the track and is what makes it fit. Like if you were not so set and like jazzed about that, the change in dynamics of and tempo, then I don't think it would have worked as well. But like you were so set on it, and it really worked because of that.
Yeah, I guess so, because like it's just so sporadic, which is definitely what the song's about, and kind of like the mental state, like well-being. But again, like. Everything just fits so well. I think we kind of did the track order like as they were recorded too, which really? Eric was like, I don't remember his track list he wanted. I think the only thing he wanted differently was my end to be more up front. Mm-hmm. And then I think when I sent the record to Joe, he wanted some stuff changed too. He wanted some other things like more up front and the slower stuff set back. Sure. But I was like, really, I kind of wanted to be like, you have to listen to it grow like through this whole deal, because we're in the age where it's like you listen to whatever song you want anyway. So it's like it's really the artist. You can make the playlist however you want, but it's like that. This is the one thing you have in control. It's like I feel like the song should go this way. Especially there's no like, aside from Happy to Stay, there's no real transitions going on
right in between songs.
There's like a lot of dead stops, which is cool because coming from the mindset of I want there to be like transitions and stuff. It was like no, like. You're allowed to not be tied down to that.
Not everything has to be that way. And also, in like a world where people can build playlists, it's a lot easier to put a song that doesn't have a transition. That's just like a dead stop, dead start into a playlist, because it's not like you don't feel like you've lost context. Personally, my like own philosophy with like I always feel like there was like ebb and flow, where it's like you don't want to just do like all fast songs, all slow songs, all loud, all soft. Like you kind of like I feel like there's like a back and forth, like it's like a marathon almost for me, or it's like you kind of figure out how to pace yourself, and like there are highs and lows at points that you want to get someone to the end.
A lot's inexplainable too. Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of this has to go in between that. But then there's the fun stuff of like playing it live, where we switch Happy and Stay, or we switch like like that same order. I think we started the release show with Diet, when it's like you expect us. They're gonna start with Home. They're gonna start with Home. They're gonna start with Home. Boom. Nope.
Well, it's like that. The Turnstile music video is like those three songs aren't next to each other.
They're not in order. Yeah.
But like, hey, they like it works beautifully. It's like something about like rearranging your art in a way that wasn't the way it was initially presented. Is like it takes people by surprise, but like kind of rehooks you into. It gives you a new pair of glasses in a way.
Yeah, because you'll never know how the songs were recorded or tracked. Like in actuality, you'll never know. And like what you're hearing is like the final decisions they made on the track order and everything, and like especially like a writing perspective, ending with the oldest song. Right. Like it's just
very well. It's like that wasn't the newest. That was the oldest song, and it's all the way at the end.
It sounds like something incredibly different and new, and very different from the rest of the tracks. But of course, there was one music reviewer that was like, "This was my favorite song." I was like, "That's insane." I was like, "That's really cool." And of course, the live version of that has taken like one of the top placements for me of the like jamming out, which people are gonna have to see live because it's not recorded for you. Yeah. Really, or it's somewhere, but you don't have it. You don't have access to it.
Come to a gig.
Well, you should come to a gig sometime. Space might be my favorite because a lot of the other Idle Wave songs are all part of this journey.
Sure.
And they all fit together to take you on this path. But I feel like I could put Space on at any time. And it's everything I love about music. It's the adventure. It's the rock and roll type deal. But it's also really weird and artsy. It's something I've never heard before, really. But it's a culmination of everything I love. So for me, it's pretty much my favorite, or one of my favorites. I don't know. I've written a good amount of songs that I could say I really love listening to, and I'm just like, oh, this is crazy. I've never heard anything like this before, and it's based upon all the bands I love and stuff like that. It kind of reminds me of like experiences I've been through, everything like that. And that's something so special, and I think that's the beauty of us making music now, is that we can do that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And I actually, it's interesting. I think, especially out of all the songs on the record, this is one where like your journey as like a guitar player shines the most in a way where it's like, obviously like you're the type of songwriter you are, and you write the songs that you do, and they're all great. But like, you know, I think some of your background comes through, because I don't know if many people realize like how incredible of a guitar player you are. Like, so obviously it comes through on some of the older material, but like you don't like take any solos really like much on the newer material.
I was thinking about that lately. I was like, oh yeah, I don't do it. They're so out.
Yeah,
Like,
they are out, but like I'm very not very high on them now, but I feel like you feel that kind of energy. It's like, wow, this guy likes to play guitar. Like I feel that in Space, and I think that's a really positive thing about it. And personally, like you said, like actually this is one of my favorites on the record. Maybe my favorite, maybe next to All Night and My End. But this
they're all next.
they're all great, yeah. And
you just skip tracks.
all yeah. But I feel like this is one on the record that like again you could put on whenever. Like if you want to feel pumped, you just want to put a song like.
I want to start a set with
it. It doesn't require a vibe, you know. You just throw it on and you're like, hell yeah.
Yeah, and it ends too. It's like you're opening a book and closing it type deal, which is unique, because I feel like a lot of times singles, they're like to get you into this other thing or to get you. And the song wasn't a single.
No, the song feels like a self-contained story in a way.
Yeah, a couple people said it should have been a single, but I couldn't come up with a music video idea that was good enough for the song.
Sure.
And
it should serve it, so it's like.
I'm still open to something if anybody has any cool ideas that they want to collab on. Like
send them in.
Well, I'm very open to giving this song a second life, but I just can't wait to, especially this one. I can't wait to play it.
I think it'll really shine.
More and more every night. Yeah. I am alone.
You're gonna have to find where to cut that.
Talking about Boardwalking. There's a guitar solo on this one.
Is this the only song with a guitar solo?
We're gonna isolate the guitar solo right now.
Could if I asked you to, could you play that solo right now?
No. I'd have to listen to it.
Yeah,
that's like 3 years ago.
It was, yeah.
Oh, remember how bad I was doing? Remember how like terrible I was?
You were playing fine. You were playing so well.
You guys were like, yeah, you were fine and everything. Dude, in my head, I was just like, this is bad. Like,
dude, I remember
you might get sent home.
You're fired. Go home,
like,
guy.
you're gonna be fired. Connor's gonna fire me.
No, you were playing great. I think it was there were certain parts that were like, oh, that wasn't the exact vibe we were going for, but that sounded awesome.
Looking back, it does remind me of a White Reaper.
It does very much a White Reaper solo.
I'm glad we did it too. It's good to have a guitar solo in a song, and it made sense too. It's like that song's so cool. The chorus is so Weezer.
Yeah, that was the feel for it. And like, I think listening back to the song now, like, because again, hearing the demo of it, like it was like, oh, like kind of slightly swung like soft sad boy vibe, and then I was like, oh, I do want it to sound like Weezer because that's what I was listening to at the time. And then listening back now again, I'm like, it kind of sits somewhere in between in a really happy medium. And I just think it needed a solo to break it up, you know? I think it had to go back to that sort of chorus over the verse thing, or rather verse over the chorus to end the song. This was a fun one.
One of the coolest parts of the record, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I really do love the song. It's just funny, like, I think only a small handful of people have that as, like, their top of the record, which I think is, like, the weirdest thing to me, because it's one of my highs, at least from, like, a songwriting perspective, I think, where it's like, oh, I have, like, this repeated imagery, and, like, maybe it's too on the nose for some people, I don't know.
There's so much going on chordally.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Like, when you were showing me the song, I was like, hold on. Because I think I tracked down bass first, and then I did the guitar part.
Yeah. Well, between that and What's Best for You, there was a lot going on. Those two songs quarterly were like, oh wait.
What's Best for You has that like weird,
all the
like
changes.
Chromatic incline on the verse. Oh, it's so good though.
Thank you.
Don't ever let somebody. Be
Oh
like,
no,
there's too much going on in your song.
No. Thankfully, no one's ever said that to me, so I feel secure in that. I mean, this one, granted, and here's where I totally out myself. It totally rips off Game of Pricks by Guided by Voices. The chord it's just me playing each of those chords twice as long, but it's the same song.
You've shown me you've covered that.
I've played that song somewhere. Yeah. And it's a great song, by the way. Robert Pollard's an awesome songwriter. And when I wrote the song, I didn't even realize I was ripping it off. I was just playing, and then I listened back, and I was like, "We're too far gone. We're leaving it." Okay.
Well, I'm sure all the Guided by Voices fans. Yep, I'm hearing them complain right now.
I know a few of them. Come on.
No, I was saying, well, now it's gonna be, like Guided by Voices is the Led Zeppelin, and Nameling is the Greta Van Fleet. Then.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, I don't want that comparison.
Can you imagine? Well, judging by our luck, that's what when Pitchfork finds you. That will.
Does that mean Robert Pollard's gonna Guided by Voices is gonna like promote me then?
A 7-second YouTube clip being like Nick sucks. It just ends. Yeah. It's like part of the YouTube haiku, the important videos playlist. Nick sucks.
That's content right there. If that does happen.
Honestly.
So shout out. But all in all, like I just this was, again, as we've come back to time and time again throughout these episodes, this was a demo that kind of sprung out of the earth, almost fully formed, where another late night at my music job, and I just supposed to be cleaning up. I sat down with the guitar and pretty much wrote, I want to say 60 to 70% of the song just in a sitting, and I was like, oh, okay, that's the song. And other than the fact that it went from some crappy acoustic guitar to a full rock song, it was a very natural progression of acoustic to live band and then back to acoustic at the end of the song. So it was pretty much point A to point B very easily. That's
something else I've always wanted to talk to somebody about. For me, when I write songs, if I don't get it done in one sitting, I'm talking a majority of it done in one sitting, it doesn't end up. Very rarely I'll dig that idea back up or it'll come back into place somewhere. But most of the time when it's a song that actually makes the cut on the record or whatever, it's something that's done. Something is done in this one sitting.
Right.
You're talking about at your music job, kind of working through these ideas. So you got the majority of it done. What didn't you get done in that time?
The possibility of a bridge, really, and ended up sitting instrumental bridge.
You never write bridges.
Which
you don't need to do anymore.
Yeah.
I remember when my uncle was teaching me music, he's like, yeah, so the bridge is just, nobody cares about a bridge. It's just, the guitar solo's coming up. Like, he's like the bridge, you kind of just like, everything gets real quiet. Maybe put a chorus on the guitar.
What did
like
we do?
one chord.
Guitar solo. Like...
No, but I'm saying like, it's just like, yeah, it's just a build up to the guitar solo. But like, I don't know, bridges, yeah, it's got to be.
It depends. It has to serve the song, as it always does. So like,
yeah, which you find in the studio. You're coming, and again, like you're doing verse, chorus, going to the studio, and you're coming up with these monster bridges in all your latest songs. And like, for me, I'm always, I don't really care. I don't even care about a second verse. Like half the time, I'm always like, yeah, we'll get somebody else to sing it. Connor's like, why don't you just get in there and write lyrics? You're so lazy. I'm like, yeah, I know, but. Like that's been the case with a lot of our newer tracks too. It's just like the bridge is not important. Some songs are just verse chorus. And like I'm so down with that.
Or maybe not even an instrumental bridge sometimes. In my case it has been that. Oh, it depends. Like New Year's Eve, as we'll get to.
Well, that's why like collabing with people is so much fun. Because it's just like, there should be like this type of deal going on, or we haven't done this yet, or just like figuring out fun stuff to do. Because everything else is pretty, like the verses and chorus are very organic. Especially you sent me a couple new demos that I've been rifling through, and like, again, like the verses and chorus are like super there.
That's what is there for me, where it's like I can, and it's something I struggled with for a while, was writing a chorus, which actually almost I don't want to say shines here, but like it's almost the glaring moment here where it's like, oh, there's no instrumentally there's a chorus, but like there's no like lyrical chorus in the song.
In Boardwalking?
In Boardwalking,
yeah, there is.
It repeats once at the very end, but that's a verse lyric. It's like in a way there's like no verse, no chorus rather.
Really?
Yeah.
If time ends hard.
Yeah, but
with the ride cymbal and everything, it's not.
Yeah, it's sort of instrumentally a chorus, but the lyric only repeats once at the end of the song.
My life away.
Yeah. So it's like I, especially at this time of my life, struggled with writing choruses.
I'll never be the king of the club, to your queen of hearts, your very last love. There are things you expect from me that I don't think I'm capable of.
Oh, you talking about my?
Everyone knew I'd be an ace of spades.
I had, other than this though, like since I've recorded the EP, for EP2 or album 1, whatever that ends up, these demos I've been getting a lot better at writing, choruses. But yeah, for me, verses and choruses, like that's primary. That's what I want to put forward into the world, and then if a bridge comes along, it comes along.
Yeah. Especially the chorus will always be the most important part, which is weird because a lot of my favorite bands, I love them for their verses being so like.
Well, that's where like the storytelling.
Such a punch. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the storytelling happens. So it's like, hey, like here's this idea, but here's all these like specifics on that idea. It's like, oh, let me hear it.
I'm gonna get our podcast shot down right here. Over the summer, I took a little road trip with a friend, and he put on Michael Jackson's Thriller at one point, which I can't say the last time I listened to in full. I didn't really listen to that record growing up. No, the record. The whole record. Oh, wow. Which everyone and their mother knows the singles. Yeah, but like, I know the singles, but never really listened to the full record. I gotta tell you, supremely hot take. Did not care for the B-sides. Like, the singles are obviously, especially for that time, revolutionary dance tracks that like everybody could be a part of. Like they shaped Halloween. Like come on. Like that, like everything, like, and the music video is like so vital at that time, and like bringing Eddie Van Halen on and everything. It was just like super cool. Like everybody loves that, like, that part of like Michael Jackson's crazy long career. Like those songs are undeniably awesome. But
for his career as King of Pop,
I was so bored of the verses and choruses of the other songs, and it was really like, kind of daunting me. I was like, wow, this was the *1 selling record. Like, this is it.
I'm gonna have to go back in and like listen to those B-sides.
I'm gonna have to go back in too, with my foot entirely in my mouth, and then we'll do another episode where it's like we circle back to Thriller.
retract your statement.
Well, this is a good record to like talk about in a songwriting. It's 2021 right now, like talking about just like what's going to survive the test of time. Whereas I think like like Queen's Night at the Opera, or like Led Zeppelin or the Beatles, I think they're gonna 100, 200 years from now, they're still gonna be known as like those people's symphony. Of course. Like that whole thing, that album is gonna play through as like, you know, a book of sheet music, or that, like if you're looking at it in that way as like a Mozart or a Beethoven or anything like that. But some of these other things that are like culturally like a big thing, like I hope Nirvana stays as like a part of the history.
A lot of people don't think it will, but
a lot of people don't think it will. Yeah, it's just like the same goes for like Jimi Hendrix, who we're recording this today on his birthday.
Yes,
and you know, I mean, he's the reason I play guitar.
Of course. As a lefty, I mean, he's inspirational and iconic for me.
He's an American icon. He's a poet. He's everything. It's just like, you know, is his music going to stand the test of time in terms of a melodic, because culturally it was like it brought in guitar playing, it brought in like poetry, because he was very Bob Dylan inspired and everything like this. And but will the music like on paper survive, which is something that you and I don't have to worry about because we're not that good at all. But like
hey, don't say that.
No, but like when it comes to stuff like Michael Jackson, is that more of a cultural thing? Is Nirvana more of a cultural thing? Is Lady Gaga's music going to stand up on paper, being the same note on the staff line?
Oh, hold on now.
With the lyric pages reading Gaga, ooh Gaga, you know, whatever. Like,
that song's a banger for the record.
Go for it. But I'm saying like this is stuff that you know, I think about. I hope everything lasts because it's all being cataloged. I hope it all lasts, and I hope like 100 years from now, some kids with their like laser beam cyclops looking things they're wearing, the VR headsets, they're just be like, yo, I found this band that has like 150 YouTube plays called Nameling. You gotta check it out. It's sick. Like that'd be so cool. That's what you and I live for. It's because we find all these weird things. Is like very niche like groups or whatever.
Dude, there's so much, especially as of late, given like me being on like kind of a 90s like emo and screamo kick, where like a lot of these bands like don't have like content on Spotify or anything. There's like, oh, I have to find someone uploading their album on YouTube.
Yeah, they never made it. Like they never, like it, you know, they never had a label back or anything. But still, like the recording sounded sick, and they were at this boom of all this other great music was coming out that we were kind of not misguided, but other things were thrown in our face, like from that era. That's still like
the industry was pushing other stuff.
Which it just happens naturally and things fall by the wayside. But the recording technology was there for like bands like Neutral Milk Hotel to have a like smack album, like a sonically perfect like masterpiece.
And even though it's not as clear on this song, I think like even on this song are like huge inspirations to me. Like just like that kind of that sound, like it sounds big, it sounds, you know, but you're still trying to be like a poet in a way. Like Neutral Milk Hotel is always the one like I go back to with that. And I hope they stand the test of time. And I like to think they would.
Which boardwalk are you talking about?
Atlantic City, baby.
Look at that.
Yeah. This actually, most of the lyrics of this song came up like in a time where I was actually having a good time, but like there's always those things in the back of your mind. It was a friend's birthday party. It was, we all went to Atlantic City for his birthday to celebrate. We're, you know, night on the town, great time. Everyone's, you know, drinks are flowing. Like some people are gambling. I wasn't, but that kind of makes its way into the lyric where like I was trying to play it safe. But just the whole idea of not being afraid or not willing to like gamble at all to forward your life. And I think that kind of played a part in the back of my mind while I was there. I'm like, this is a great time. I'm having a great time with people, but like, what am I doing? You know, whether was within my relationship, like, you know, taking it to the step, that phase of life where I'm making money and can get married, like, will I get there? And so the next time I sat down with a guitar, which was days later at my job, I like that kind of just like poured out of me. But it all
Curse of
started.
being a writer.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, you can't even enjoy one thing. You're like thinking about the like behind it. When people you feel like regular people just enjoy things for what they are, like at the surface level, and you're just thinking about, wow, all the stuff that goes into this place, or like all the like, it's insane.
That's a lot of my songs, especially as you'll see, maybe if we do episodes on the newer songs, where it's like not every conversation, but a lot of conversations turned into songs. And this one specifically, where it turns into drinks being on the house, like while you're gambling, or getting taken back if you're caught counting cards, and them beating you up. All of it from that night sort of made its way onto paper.
I'm so glad that you like went in on that and everything like that, because I never got that vibe from the song, and now it's like something I'm going to think about whilst like going through the whole song. I never correlated that. It's
sort of that juxtaposition of like having a good time while you can, but not being able to balance that with doing what's best for your future.
So we should get Martin Scorsese to direct the music video for it. It's me, you, and like all our Italian friends, just like slick back hair, going into the going into the Harrah's, the pool after dark.
Exactly. Us getting beaten up by security, and then being left with a smile on our face at the end of the night. Shut it down.
Are the question, and I fear it has to wait, 'cause I'm losing all my money while I throw my life away. The house on the line, the drinks on the house.
All right, here we go.
There we go. That's it. That's TV.
Yeah, well, I don't think we're gonna start with the song for this one.
Oh, we're not gonna start with the song with this one. Okay.
No, because I think we're gonna cut to video. So this is our first video podcast.
What's up?
Hi, this is what we look like.
This is where people.
As if people that don't already know us are
I
listening.
feel like most of our viewers is people who already know what we look like.
Us, yeah, this is pretty much what they expected. But yeah, very special episode to do this. A video, obviously, because this is the debut of our little home recording track TV.
Yeah.
Which, wow, I guess we're both pretty much involved in this. So
yeah,
questions.
You got me roped into it.
Well, you got questions.
I do have questions.
I don't really.
Because you did it.
But I need to be like triggered by questions.
Right, because you actually like made it, and I was like, you're like, oh, can you do a verse on this? So I'm like, it's not. It started with you. So where did it start? I guess it's a good question.
So, the last couple years. Well, I always kind of like to unplug more than I think I would.
Sure.
But I do like unplugging. So I did a nice little unplug this time for kind of setting myself every time. I want to unplug a little further. Mostly unplugging, meaning getting off like Instagram and all that.
The social media platforms.
Yeah, just not really being in other people's business.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt, why am I so special? Why would I, I understand even how celebrities function. A lot of people that are celebrities, like Tom Holland, it's because he's a kick-ass actor.
He's great.
And he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I don't really care what kind of sandwich he has today, but
or a croissant.
but it is a cool world that it's like, I guess if you're that creepy, you could find out what sandwich Tom Holland eats today.
Easily.
So my whole deal is like, I don't really know why I would be special enough for people to look at what I do anyway, which I did have a lot of fun posting pictures of salads I made or stuff I went to, or, little, like if I went for a walk and I was just like, this is something I was thinking about on my walk or something like that. I thought that was cool. And like, instead of it just being like a big group chat, it was like a bunch of people like coming back to me like, oh yeah, I was thinking of this the other day, or something like that. Or if I'm just
almost like an open forum for a moment,
which is great, and it's beautiful, and it's cool that people do that. I still do like doing stuff like that. But a couple months ago, just going through some life changes, I was like, I really need to get off this. It's not healthy. It's not healthy for me to be on it right now. And that's what TV is primarily about.
Yeah.
Is like kind of like, I need to unplug myself. I don't think I'm that interesting. I wouldn't even watch this type
Right.
deal.
Yeah. Like, yeah, you wouldn't watch yourself on TV. You wouldn't watch the things that you're doing right now. You don't feel like exceptional.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is the baseline of what it is. And I remember back at the old place, and we talk a lot on this podcast about, usually it's I'm playing and singing
Right.
for an idea that's a voice memo to kind of kick off. But this one was a guitar riff. That intro riff, just me playing it. And I was watching something, ironically enough. I'm blanking. It was definitely a series that I was getting into. And I'm drawing a huge blank on what it was, but I was playing this riff and I had to track it because I was just like, oh, this is kind of, I feel like you could play this for a while.
Right.
And that became the kind of whole foundation of the song.
As they do sometimes.
And then the next night, I dug that riff up. I was like, wait, I should do something on this before I completely lose it and completely forget about it.
Right. While you have some momentum.
I think I called you. You
You
I
did
was
call
like,
me.
I'm
You did
working
call
on the
me. Yep.
next blank because the song's not out yet, but the next thing. And I was like, I was so excited because I forget what we were talking about, but it was like, oh, this is so sick. Like, I want to go work on this. And then I started demoing it in Logic in the other room.
Yeah.
And then through the whole move and everything, the song's kind of just been there. And then with us doing the podcast, I was like, this might be a cool thing to just kind of evolve on a little more and see what I could do mixing, because I've never mixed before.
Right. This is like your first foray into it.
Yeah, which, so it's like, this is a more laid back song, and I kind of just want it to be that way. I don't know. I
Sure.
feel like it's a good test run.
Yeah, having something
of a song.
self-produced, self-mixed, all the the whole nine.
But that was cool. How I was just so lazy to not write a second verse. I was like, Nick, we're doing the podcast, so you might as well like be on it. And you slayed. I
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I knew because I have such like stock in your lyrics that like you coming over, it would just be, and we literally banged it out in like one night.
Yeah, one night.
One of your wordier verses too. But I love it because you and I are both at this point where like, might as well try whatever we can
Exactly.
to see what sticks, because we don't have anything we're tied down to. I'm
Right.
not the guy that does this or the guy that does that.
We could
So
do
it's
anything
like,
we want.
literally.
Yeah, and my difficulty is that I'm very bad with writing on the fly, improvisation. Like I usually like kind of linger on my stuff for quite a while. So I remember like listening to that like dozens of times and then finally getting down something I was happy with. And it happened to be wordy. Like I think I had to adapt. Like for that moment, I was like, this is what this song needs. It was something kind of wordy and like sort of not stream of consciousness, but like kind of flowy, like almost rappy, but not.
Everything you do always stews, which is the word I was thinking as you were saying. It kind of like sits and you like meditate on things before you speak, which you do normally.
Oh, that's like me normally.
Me, I'm the opposite. So all my
impulses.
all my lyrics are impulse, like word vomit type deal. But I find the most self-reflecting coming through that.
Right.
Whereas like yours are kind of like you like.
Yeah,
then
the
present
self-reflecting is inside and then it comes out.
Right.
Whereas like yours, like you workshop it.
But a lot of things with your lyrics, super, super catchy too.
Thank you.
And how it is so wordy, but it's also very like real, complete thoughts. Back to bed, I just need some sleep. No,
Yeah.
it's the one before that.
Is this a movie you would watch? Wait, is this a movie you would watch with me? Oh wow!
No, I think even the beginning of it.
It's as good as it's gonna get.
It's as
Close
good
the
as
shades.
it's gonna get. Close the shades and stay in bed.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
and it's just like, yeah. Like totally,
Right,
like
like-
totally. We're writing this in this glum where I feel like every day is gray skies in New Jersey.
Yeah.
and it's freezing. A lot of the kids say the word brick. It's brick.
It
outside.
was brick.
And I mean,
It was very brick.
I never heard that until a couple years ago. I'm like, that's a perfect way to describe 20 degrees and no snow.
Yeah, it's like,
and
oh, it's
just
brick.
like straight pavement.
Which I always felt like it was like an offshoot of brisk, but like I still love using it. Brick is great.
Yeah. Brick's when you know it's cold. If your friend tells you it's brick outside,
It's cold.
It's like, don't even bother.
Yeah. Which like it's funny because that was the one line for me that set off the rest, because I was trying to figure out what to write to your song, and I had a note about closing the shades and like going back to bed, because like that's been my reality the past like 2 years now, is like my room being the basement. It's cold all the time, and I'm like, I just like want to close the shades and stay in bed because I'm freezing.
Yeah.
So it just like goes from there.
Wait, I think you were there at the South Lincoln house where me and Joe's rooms were in the basement.
Yep.
And there was no natural lighting, and there was one day I slept until 4 p.m.
It's easy.
because you literally just have no concept
Yeah.
of the sun.
Like if your window's closed at all, like blocked at all, it's like, yeah, that's it. You're just
Unreal.
asleep. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's scary, but I definitely your whole verse.
Thank you.
I vibe with, and it was a kind of nice touch on like what I was doing, and then we go into this like Good Charlotte-y rap part, which is
Very super American. I
pretty
felt
great.
like
Super American too, because we were both like high off the experience of seeing them and loving that record, and that kind of came into play that way too.
Do you get it? You liked it when I said it. Couldn't tell my tone of voice, so forget it. I don't believe that anything they say about me is interesting.
So we begin with that guitar riff, that chord progression that
Yeah.
like just goes. And then there's not really a lot of bass until the
yeah.
subs in the chorus come in. And I think also there's no bridge to the song.
Not really. No, it's just verse, chorus,
Double chorus. I don't know.
Yeah. Which is great. I think that's like a structure that works well. Like sometimes a song doesn't call for a bridge. Double chorus out.
Especially this.
Yeah.
I mean, with it being so wordy and us kind of saying what we need to say in the song. Also kind of fitting in with you and I have both been writing shorter songs lately.
Yes.
This short attention span. And it a lot of the time is like, well, are we just writing something that's going to pop off on Instagram or
Right.
pop off on TikTok type deal, but also how we're feeling type deal? Like,
Definitely.
we're not trying to, the song has to be this huge, grandiose masterpiece. It's going to be it's going to be a piece of our puzzle.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
We're like mapping out. I think everybody's mapping out right now. If you're not doing like a cohesive record, you're kind of just moving in that direction of like, these are like little pieces to my thing.
Absolutely. And I think I've found myself in a place, and I'm sure you would agree, where it's like, there's no reason to force out anything extra than what you've written or would like to write.
Right.
So if nothing's really coming to mind, then maybe that's just the song. So if it's a minute 50, and why write an extra bridge, an extra pre-chorus, an extra verse if really you're forcing it?
Yeah.
That's just the song.
That's it. And then live, you could do a 10-minute version like Zeppelin.
Exactly.
I don't
Just
know
jam
how
on it.
you will, but you can.
Yeah.
And it's,
You just
it's your
hum
choice
and
to do
moan,
that.
and then eventually it's a 10-minute version.
Hum and moan. Smoke perp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Genius. But so it kind of had like the bass, and it's got that drum loop going on. And then kind of the vocal. Yeah, the lyrics and the vocals carry it. And then the like steel drum thing in the choruses. That was
Yes. So cool.
Oh my God. I was like, when I first mapped it out, I just had that like, I was looking for something weird.
Yeah.
Because there's so many sounds in this thing, and I don't know what I'm doing. So I was like, what about like a steel drum type thing?
It works really well too. And I think in earlier mixes, I didn't realize it was a steel drum. I for some reason in my memory, it was a toy box,
Glockenspiel.
a glockenspiel.
like a song box.
Yeah, like a song box
Music
or
box, yeah.
a music box or like a glockenspiel or something. And then this most recent one, I'm like, oh, that's a steel drum, and it's so cool. Yeah, like really works very well.
It's cool. I don't know. It's like trying to find new things. It's like
Definitely.
I haven't done this in a song before, and it's like I also like the idea of this is where my head's at of what kind of music I could accomplish on my own, but that I also like would listen to.
Right.
Type deal. I was thinking a lot at work about Smash Mouth today. And I was thinking about how so many bands you and I particularly love model at least like their vocal harmony or their chord progressions off of like Smash Mouth songs.
Absolutely. I think it's
many
something
bands
nobody
we
would
listen to.
Yes, nobody would want to admit it, but like the deep cuts, like if we're even not even looking like all-star, either whatever the meme is, like some of the deep cuts on their records from like the late 90s, you're like, oh, these are just like perfect pop songs, and like bands who are at our age or like a little bit older who would have heard them. It's like that's the model. That's the goal.
Well, I was also just thinking All Star, like
Even
flat
All
out
Star.
of,
I mean,
like,
All Star
every
also
element
works.
of that in terms of like how you coordinate things.
Definitely, it's the
And-
perfectly arranged song.
Well, you even have one of your newer songs has that kind of backbeat that All Star has.
Definitely,
And the
yeah.
like scratches and stuff like that. And I don't know. I knew with a lot of the Smash Mouth stuff, they were reminiscing of like the 60s sound.
Of course.
They're trying to get that like Austin Powers
There's like a psychedelia.
party psychedelia, like upbeat like thing of swing of the 60s into the 90s. And us right now, I mean, we're culminating on a lot of other things, but I feel like culturally we're kind of more of an 80s right now, moving into like
synthesizers and
the
drum
90s
machines.
like next thing of because a lot of things now are popping off because they're all like stripping back again.
Of course,
It's just
it's cyclical.
it's entirely cyclical, and what's good for me and you is that we like most of this stuff and a lot of it. So I know you've heard some stuff I've been working on that's just guitar based drums, but also we love working on stuff that's got like synths in it and like fake drums and like less guitar work or synth bass. And
I think that flexibility is important, where it's like we and like you said, it really just like completely holds to your point of from earlier. Like it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm the guy that does this. We could do any of it. We can incorporate all of it or none of it.
I want to do as much as I can with music. I don't see it as like when I was in high school, I wanted to write songs that would have guitar solos
of course.
in them, which I
Wait,
don't
as any
think
schooler would, I
that
think.
hard to take when you're like 15 and playing guitar.
Learning from all your guitar heroes, I'm like, oh, they did a solo here. I should do a solo.
Yeah, it's
there.
like, oh yeah, I think I would really define myself by doing just another pentatonic like solo in here. But you have that, and then kind of progresses into like, for me, I wanted to write hooks no matter what I did, like have a hook in it, which I still want to do. And then it's like create a vibe, something that you could either like sit to or dance to or have on in a collection of other things. But you could literally do any of that and all of that at the same time. And there's nothing stopping you, and there's no genre that's too much or too little right now.
Definitely not.
And there's so much crossover with all this stuff.
I think that's the beauty of, especially right now. I mean, like some people might say, oh, there's no good music coming out. It's like, that's the furthest thing from the
So
truth.
wrong.
Like everything now could be a melting pot. You could take influences from every decade, every genre, and create something beautiful.
And you can make it sound crystal clear, or you could make it sound super like just shitty sounding in the best way.
Exactly.
And like super raw, and it sounds amazing. I want to say definitely for me from 2019 on, music's gotten progressively better. I might be like kind of ignorant to stuff in like 2018 or 2017 that I was super into, but definitely for me 2019, like of newer stuff coming out and like real like game changers.
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of like really important records to me come out in the past couple of years, so I'm with you on that.
And there's stuff still coming out. I mean, Big
of
Thief. So is it out? I keep
It's out.
Okay, it's out.
The full double record, Dragon War Mountain, I Believe in You, is out. It's phenomenal.
Unreal. It's just the fact that a band did that, even though I mean, obviously they've been on the top of their game and like pushing boundaries, writing and recording everything, but
I think that record actually specifically, if you listen to the whole thing, is the perfect example of what we're talking about right now, because they're not just like, oh, let's write a Big Thief song. They're like, let's just write a song. And it's like, it's folky, it's country. There's like an indie pop sort of song. There's one that almost sounds like Bon Iver. There's like all these different sounds. Yeah. And they're like, no, this is our record. It sounds whatever, the songs are whatever we want them to be. And it's amazing.
insane. Yeah, you get away with that
You get
right
away with
now
it,
if you're
yeah.
doing some of that. Or like the last 1975 record was like 20 something tracks.
Yeah, and it kills.
Yeah, and it's just, held to no genre, and they play those songs live and they kill, and like
course.
they did so much cool art with everything too, which is also like, if you have the ability to make art with your music, you totally should.
Absolutely.
Which you and I were talking about right before signing on to this.
The doing it, like actually like setting to do it helps.
I wanted to make images to those 4 songs on the EP so bad. I was like my like tunnel vision of what was going on with that.
Yeah.
And that's one of my only kind of regrets with the full length, is that I didn't kind of take the time to do, I don't know. I was just like thinking too heavy of practicalities, but I think what I want to move on in the future is kind of taking those old songs and doing something to breathe some more life into them, and especially visually kind of like bring some visuals to it. And I think everybody, because it's so hard, you're like, you may only have one song, you may only have 5 songs, and you want to write more, but you should also like, you created a little world with that song, and you should do, the most with it. You should do something cool on your own, because I think investing in yourself is what's going to get others to invest in you.
Exactly.
In just art in general.
Of
because
course.
if you want people to believe in what you believe in, you got to make them see it that way and hear it that way. And I think that's the goal with a lot of artists creating things, is, they're putting their view out there.
Yeah.
Of what this thing is.
Yeah, and I think if you show people that you had a vested interest in the art that you made, they're more like, not, it won't guarantee that they care, but they're more apt to care, because like this is something that someone made that they really do care a lot about. This is their perspective on something they care a lot about. Let me like listen to it. Let me appreciate it. And especially if it's like, to your point, the full package, if it's the image, the video, whatever it is, like if you're investing your life into the work, then people take notice with any art.
While we're on video doing this very special episode, I do want to thank everybody for listening.
Yeah, this has been crazy. Yeah.
We did this just for fun, and I don't know, just to kind of talk about our songs, because we've been doing it forever. You just come over, drink a little bit, like shoot the shit, and then just talk about new stuff we're going through. Or you and I have always been into the process so much.
I love it. Like the process is my favorite. I mean, maybe not my favorite part of it, but like it's a huge part of it for me, because, what they say, it's like not always about the destinations, about the journey. Like for songwriting,
especially with creating.
Exactly.
Oh my God, yeah. Ask anybody who's had like a chart-topping record, they'd be like, "Yeah, I just want to be back in the studio, like making it again." Like that's cooler than the. Oh yeah,
it's the best part. It's like the collaboration with your friends, the collaboration with yourself in a way. Like there's like 2 selves almost writing the song, and then like recording it and just like preparing to put it out. The whole process is so cool. There's always a story, almost always a story behind every facet of it.
Yeah, that's why I think even just you and I, we definitely know what these songs are about and the kind of things that went into them, and we've seen them bloom. But you and I just picking each other, like I learned so much that I would have never known, and I'm sure the same for you.
Definitely.
And just like ways to look at it, and I definitely think that's a cool thing. That kind of like, I'm very stoked that everybody's been listening and kind of like throwing their like not notes, but just be like, "Oh, I love when you talked about this," or whatever. Like I'm just like, "Oh wow, people are really listening."
Yeah, like I'll get like text messages like, "Oh, like I checked this out, like I like this a lot, like the way your voice sounds, or like the thing you said here." Like it's really cool.
It's nice because especially we're doing this where it's not like a performative thing. We're just like talking, and then it's like, all right, I'm gonna clip out the weird sounds, and then we'll put them out. And no, it's been cool that we get to do this, and now we just gotta write more songs.
That's it. So we can keep doing it.
So we can keep doing it.
Well, I remember like for this, at least like the first season, I was like, oh, that's all my songs. So like now it's all on you.
Yeah,
Like
me
that's
too.
now we have to keep just doing more of yours.
No, not even that. I think the move is to like get people on
Definitely.
and yeah, just kind of expand it best we can. And you know, worst case, we stop doing this and this will be archived and you could always listen. It'll just be a part of the internet.
Right.
We contributed.
Exactly.
something.
That was the point, I think. It's like to contribute a sort of a chronicle of what we had done. Whether somebody heard it or nobody heard it, there's a physical record now that exists of us talking about our experiences and process and our songs.
Something you said before. Oh, you said something before about you're in the basement and like the window or whatever edge. I'm just thinking like, how cool is that we have that recorded, you know, in case anything happens.
Of course.
Where, like this song explodes. It's like, whoa, that was like
It's
a
all from the
timestamp on Nick's life. And
Yeah.
college kids at a party are just like reminiscing about like, oh, I love that track so
Exactly.
much.
Just the way we have like talked about like so many of our, you know.
That track really got me into stealing from convenience stores. What? Yeah, that track really got me into arson. What? No.
That's the hope.
We're just inspiring such bad shit.
I
going.
love that's the goal. Some degenerate behavior. I'm
my
into it. For the basement
I
parts,
didn't know I could steal until I listened to their podcast.
like that wasn't the point at all. It's funny going into the next season or whatever, or with guests or not, like talking about maybe the next batch of songs we do. That part specifically about like me being in the basement, because I think so many of my experiences and those songs were shaped by the experience of like living down there, sometimes being cold, especially in the winter. And it's just really cool, like how important sometimes the insignificant details are. So,
Well, it sounds like that too. Like I do get that vibe now, knowing that from the tracks, and I mean that's really sick, and especially just the like you're countering what you're playing with your like vocals and everything. Because I think I listened to an interview with Phoebe one time where she was just like, "Well, I live in a 1-bedroom apartment that's, you know, pancaked with another couple apartments next to it." So she's like, I don't full voice at all.
right, it's like, wow, that makes so much sense.
Everything I write's like really soft singing or like falsetto. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. So right towards that.
Exactly. It
Which is like,
shapes.
I've gotten so lucky most of my life being able to like belt or like make noise or whatever, but now I can't really, or I'm like conscious of what's going on around me. So I am like, I'm singing one of the heavier like demos I originally like tracked. I was just like kind of whispering, singing, but then I found a day where no one was home.
So
I was
then
just
you can
like
belt.
blowing out the vocals, and I'm like, all right, cool, I got the takes, which is great too, because it's just like going to the studio where it's like I need to kill these because this is, you know, I spent
this is
all
my
this
chance.
money and this is my day and everything. But it's like even at my own place, it's like
You have to find the opportunity to do
all
it.
right, today's the day I could like slam these higher.
It's like it's
vocals.
vocal day in a way.
Oh my
like,
god, yeah, because I have a couple demos where they sound so dumb because the vocals are like when they need to be like
Sure, yeah.
and I need it to be yelled out or some kind. I need to play with like the like expressiveness of it. But when I show people the vocals, then it's like all this like kind of like fake drums and stuff, and then me like whispering over it. They're like, "What's going on here?" I'm like, "No, it's not a say anything song. It's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be loud. Just picture it being loud.
Yeah. Look, it's a rough mix, and the vocals are a placeholder, and
It's a band. It's literally a band memes me.
every time I show anybody what I'm working on, it's like, all right, I promise this isn't a meme, but they're fake drums. And
But then sometimes it works to your favor. Like, I don't know if it was intentionally done this way, but like for TV, like I feel like that was like the vibe. It's like, let me do this like down. Mm-hmm. And maybe that was the vibe. Maybe it was a function of opportunity.
yeah, no, it definitely was of just like what I could create
Right.
that sounds cool. And like, this is not a song that I like picture it being like played live or anything. I mean, that would be cool, but that was not my like intent. Whereas
Right.
like most Idle Wave stuff is like, I'm writing it. What's a crowd gonna like? What could we all like be in on?
Sure.
Like, what could we? But this one is just like, like, be fun. But I don't know. Kind of playing with it. I think this is like a step in the direction of just playing with what kind of music I could create. I've been so obsessed with Radiohead lately, and I want to do like. I don't write like that. Where it's
my
like
God.
but
No
I
one
feel like
does.
that's also that's the thing. Maybe I could play with like just having sounds go off on the keyboard and vocalizing over it and coming up with stuff through that. Maybe that's the move. Maybe I could figure some stuff out like that. There's
Trial and error.
I mean, there's 1.5 million ways to do.
There's no one way to write a song. Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is cool that we'll dive in on this podcast even more.
Yeah, as we continue with like each episode, and especially getting the perspectives like of our friends and peers, because like their processes might be different, and I think they're all equally interesting.
Yeah.
Without further ado,
Here's TV.
nailed it.
Here's a joke I try to make you laugh while you're sad. It's self-defense, but I'm doing the best that I can. But free time, it's all booked up. Looks like I don't give a fuck. Try again the next time that you can. From the floor, there's not that much more to see. My back hurts, I'm lame, flat for relief. We talk about your pets and how they're so arrogant. You still love them unconditionally. I lay down somehow. I close my eyes, but you still look so clear to me. Like right now, I'm dumbed down. There's some shot, I watch this shit on TV. I'm glad I hate TV.
Life's as good as it's gonna get. Close the shades, stay in bed. I wrote some things that I never meant, but I guess it doesn't matter cause it's still unread. Is that movie you'd watch with me? Life filled with uncertainty. Smash my phone, I'm not interested. Back to bed, I just need some sleep.
Do you get it? You liked it when I said it. Couldn't tell my tone of voice, so forget it. I don't believe that anything they say about me is interesting. So, you gotta press pause for now. Gonna have to wait it out. Hit me when my mind's too loud, but I still wonder what they talk about. Somehow, I close my eyes, but you still look so clear to me. Like right now, I'm dumbed down. There's some shot, I watch this shit on TV. I'm glad I hate 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 TV. I'm glad I